Chapter 2966 Moment God. Han Sen's expression changed. He stared at Golden Growler, whose body still had its activeness. Golden Growler's life force was not gone yet. Compared to the last time he had seen him, his life force was weaker by a considerable amount. His body still had that pouncing forward position. His claws faced the God Temple's gate. He looked like he was just frozen where he was. What is going on? What happened to Golden Growler? Han Sen's face did not change. He could not figure out what was going on just yet. The demon lady seemed to understand Han Sen was focusing on Golden Growler. She looked at the God Temple and Golden Growler and said, "Mister, that is the God Temple of Moment God. Back then when all those God spirits descended, Moment God was there. He was a God spirit that governed time. If I see things correctly, then Golden Growler must have been struck by his moment forever. That moment lasts forever. I am afraid his life will see it trapped at that moment. He will never escape that." Han Sen hurriedly asked, "A high-level God spirit? How are the levels of gods determined? How would you define Moment God's power compared to the creatures of the universe?" The demon lady replied, "From what we know, God spirits have 4 levels, which are destruction, disaster, annihilation, and reboot. If you are talking about his power, that is hard to judge. High-level God spirits are stronger than low-level God spirits. That is for sure. Because all the God spirits took over the universe's creatures when descending, their powers are affected by their bodies. The best they can be is true God class. They cannot go any higher. Even annihilation God spirits were easily killed by the Master. In the God Temple, it is hard to gauge the power of a God spirit. Back then, I, Old Vulture, and the others had top-class treasures and God personality armaments, but could barely fight a disaster-class God spirit. Moment God is an annihilation God spirit. In the God Temple, I was unable to fight him. When he descended, the Master was able to heavily injure him. He fled back to the God Temple after that." Han Sen frowned and said, "I have the Holy Kirin to fight him. Which do you think would be stronger?" The demon lady and Old Vulture were shocked. They quickly said, "Mister, you must not do this. The Holy Spirits were made by Sacred Leader to kill God spirits, but they were designed to be used by 4 spirits combined. You also need the Race Lanterns buff. That is how you kill top-class God spirits. Right now, the power of the Race Lanterns are being used to break the space barrier, and there is only one Holy Spirit. If you just use the Holy Kirin, I am afraid with that power, you will only be equal to a disaster God spirit. With the power you have, Mister, you cannot attempt to challenge an annihilation God spirit." Han Sen stared at Golden Growler in front of the God Temple, and did not speak. Golden Growler was just frozen and motionless. Han Sen felt that his life force was fading. He guessed that Golden Growler's life force would probably be depleted within a few years. The demon lady seemed to understand what Han Sen was thinking. She quickly said, "Mister, it will not be too difficult for you to defeat Moment God. From what I know, for a disaster God spirit, there is a no-world God. Its God personality armament has no world power. It will not be limited by time and space. Mister, you can kill no-world God first, get no-world God's God personality armament, and then use the God personality armament's power to fight Moment God. Your likelihood of success would be greatly increased." "Dad, little Gold seems to be in pain. Should we go and save him?" Bauer had been lying on Han Sen's shoulder. She was looking at Golden Growler in front of Moment God's temple. Han Sen stayed silent and did not speak. He saw space was disrupted by a roaring sound. A girl with a snake-like body and a green giant beast traveled through space. They were heading for Moment God's God Temple. Han Sen recognized the green-haired big beast. That green-haired big beast was the one who stole Golden Growler away from him in the first place a long time ago. Han Sen did not know the identity of the woman who looked like a snake. It seemed to be someone from the Ghana race. Old Vulture looked at the snake-like woman and asked with shock, "Huh? Does the Ghana still have a true God elite in their midst? Why have I not heard about such a person before?" The demon lady looked at the woman and quietly said, "In legends, the Ghana Alpha had a twin little sister. When she was young, she was taken by a big beast. I think there is an 80% to 90% chance that it is that person there. If things are really this way, I think there is an 80% to 90% chance that the big beast that took her is Beast King Growler from Empty Mountain. Back then, Empty Mountain Leader was a good friend of Sacred Leader, Old Vulture said. He disappeared after he went to the Geno Hall. I did not expect his bloodline to continue. It is a shame he got stuck in the God Palace. Red Ghost shook his head and said, that Ghana woman and the green-haired beast are the top-class creatures of the universe. But it is crazy that they want to go to Moment God's Hall and save Golden Growler. That is a bad move. While they were talking, the Ghana woman and the green-haired Growler entered the proximity of the God Palace. They were going to attack Moment God's God Temple. Little Mountain Leader, we are coming to save you. The green-haired Growler roared. His body was brimming with a green light, and he was spitting out a pillar of green light. It was headed for Golden Growler. The green pillar suddenly reached Golden Growler by a distance of about 3 feet away, but the green light pillar could not cross that 3-foot distance. If one was able to fast-forward this by 100 times faster, one would have seen the green light pillar go forward. The speed of it trying to go through was so slow that it looked like it was not even moving. As Hansen watched, he was shocked. Golden Growler's body was covered by a lasting time area that was similar to Time Ghost. The time area's power was far stronger than Time Ghost area. With the green-haired beast's powerful power, in that time power, it looked like it had stopped moving. It had not really stopped moving. The green-haired beast's light pillar was fading while it was in that time power. It was extinguished now. There was not even a light left. The Ghana woman's hands clutched a crystal ball. The crystal ball had some red light, but the light was being absorbed by the time power outside of Golden Growler. It was not able to erase the time power inside. Boom, boom, boom. Moment God Temple's door opened. A female God spirit body, which looked very tall and slim, emerged. She was wearing black, tight armor. She looked cold. She did not look human at all. With every step she took, space was like the surface of a rippling lake. It was like there were many vortexes in space. When Hansen saw Moment God, he was shocked. Moment God's face and presence looked exactly like Moment Queen. No, it was more like Moment Queen looked like Moment God. Compared to this, Moment Queen was just like a weaker version of Moment God. The presence and atmosphere were different. What is going on here? Many different ideas coursed through Hansen's heart. Chapter 2967. Fighting in a God Palace. Looking closer, there was something different. But the two of them were very similar. They each had time elements. It made Hansen start to think of something else. Does this mean Qin Xiu got a God spirit? So, does a part of a spirit came from God spirits? Hansen thought. The green-haired beast madly roared. Let Little Mountain Leader go. The green pillar of light came out of its mouth. It was headed for Moment God. The Ghana woman gathered up power. She made a crystal orb of light spread. It became many waves that added to the green light beam. It was like an amplifier. It made the green light beam much bigger. It was like a God light that could destroy the world, headed for Moment God. Moment God's long jade legs stood in front of the God Temple's door. It was like she could not see those scary beams of light. She only coldly looked at the green-haired beast and Ghana woman. The green beam of light came directly before Moment God. It was like a stone falling into a lake. The waves were in front of Moment Goddess. They could not get any closer to her. They could not harm her. One thought in heaven and moments become forever. Moment God looked at the green-haired beast and the Ghana woman. They used all their powers, but they still could not hurt her. After she emotionlessly spoke, she lifted her jade right hand. She reached out her fingers and pressed the air. Moment God's fingers touched space. People were able to see waves spreading. Under the waves, time was like it was frozen. Everything stopped running. The green-haired Growler kept his position, spitting out green light. The Ghana woman continued to hold the crystal ball. She was still attacking. Everything stopped. Even the green light beam was like a glass freezing the air. Moment God walked forward. The green beam of light ahead of her was breaking like shattered glass. It was splitting in both ways. It was as if it was forming a path for Moment God to traverse. Seeing Moment God enable the destruction of everything that came in her path, Golden Growler, the green-haired beast, and the Ghana woman were no longer able to move. Han Sen was planning to do as the demon lady suggested. He was going to go to No World God, to take his god personality armament, and save little gold. Seeing the situation as it was, they did not dare slow down. He placed Bauer on the ground. He was going to use galaxy teleportation to reach the god palace he sought. Bauer immediately jumped up. She clutched Han Sen's back and climbed around his neck as she said, "Bauer and father are going to save little gold." Seeing Moment God almost walk in front of Golden Growler and the others, Han Sen did not dare to slow down. He used galaxy teleportation to go in front of the god palace. The god palace had a weird power. Han Sen was unable to teleport directly inside the god palace, so he had no choice but to fly inside. After entering the god palace's area, Han Sen felt his body go dim. It went heavy. It was like some invisible pressure was raining down on him. He felt like the Geno Hall and the God Temple were hell. The place commanded a terrible aura of authority. Seeing that Moment God was going to touch the green-haired beast ahead, Han Sen used galaxy teleportation again. This time, it went smoothly. He arrived in front of Moment God Temple. The Cause Karma knife was burning with the Holy Kirin's holy light. Han Sen slashed toward Moment God. A sky full of confused people saw someone go to the God Palace. They did not know who dared to get killed near Moment God Temple. Anyone was able to tell that the true God-class green-haired beast and Ghana woman did not stand a chance. Even Golden Growler, who had ended up in first place in the God fight list, had been trapped in front of Moment God Temple. To the creatures of the universe, Moment God was invincible. After looking closely, it was very shocking. "No. It is okay. I am fine. Arg." Han Sen wanted to refuse it, but Little Silver's lightning landed on him. It made Han Sen's brain feel numb as he screamed. "Take off my robe first," Han Sen said while holding in the pain. Bauer quickly held Han Sen up. She took off his blue and black striped robe. When she saw his back underneath the robe, she screamed. The back of the robe had a big hole in it. The hole was shaped like the woman's hand. It was where Moment God had struck him. Han Sen saw the hole of a hand in the robe. It made him develop a wry smile. Fortunately, this robe blocked a little. Otherwise, even if I did not die, I would only have half my life left. Han Sen turned around and laid down on the bed. The spell armor on his back had the print of a hand as well. Fortunately, it did not pierce through him. Even so, Han Sen's backbone had almost been destroyed. It was very hard to cast power across his body. Annihilation class god spirits sure are scary. I couldn't even use a super god spirit body to challenge it. Han Sen wanted to get up, but Little Silver amplified the amount of lightning he was using. Han Sen's body felt very itchy and numb again. He screamed again. Arg! Little Silver's thunder healing was not bad. It helped Han Sen's true god body, but the treatment process was as awful as ever. After Han Sen felt a bit better, he was going to let Little Silver go. Little Silver insisted on fixing him. He kept releasing lightning to electrify Han Senator. It made his legs go soft. It was a shame Little Silver was only primitive class. After he used all of his thunder power, he was still unable to patch up Han Sen's entire body. Okay, I am feeling much better now. Han Sen held his pain in and got out of bed. He looked outside the room and saw Moment God Temple in space. Moment God had returned to her God Temple somehow. One was no longer able to see her. Golden Growler was still trapped in the plaza in front of the God Temple. It looked like Moment God was not in a rush to kill it. Or, perhaps she was afraid of something and decided not to kill Golden Growler. Han Sen sighed. As long as Golden Growler was not killed, he had a chance. Han Sen thought, I wonder if that Annihilation Sky God crown with my xenogenic body can save Little Gold from Moment Temple. He did not think his chances were very high. Moment God's time rewind was too scary. Whenever time was reversed, Han Sen was unable to do anything to combat it. Even with powerful power, he could not cast it. Unless I can stay in Super God Spirit mode, I will not be affected by time rewind. Then I can save Little Gold. Han Sen looked at Moment God Temple and Golden Growler. His face kept changing. Chapter 2969 Breaking Point. Old Han, are you okay? Wang Yuhang, and the others were looking at Han's senator. They had been there for a long time. They heard Han's son screaming for a while, so they had not entered until now. I am fine, Hansen said. I can at least say that I am alive. Xiaqing King asked. Did you notice that the god spirit that defeated you looked like Moment Queen? Hansen nodded. I am starting to think the spirits inside the sanctuaries are partially created from the god spirits of god spirits. Xiaqing King's eyes turned bright as he said, I think so too. If that is true, is there a god spirit that looks like me? What? Are you going to have a reunion with him? Wang Yuhang asked with a smile. I am going to beat him, Xiaqing King seriously said. I will not allow another me to exist in this world. Ha! If that god spirit is as strong as the one that beat Han's son, you will be killed. Wang Yuhang was not being very supportive. You can't say that. But it is a shame that I am not a true god, Xiaqing King said while stretching. It is pointless for me to think of achieving that victory anytime soon. After they said that, it reminded Han's son of something. The creatures in the universe that evolved to that level seemed to be, as far as they could take themselves. All of the creatures were only capable of becoming true god, and no higher. There was no room for improvement. If one wanted to become stronger, one had to practice all kinds of geno-arts to increase their geno-arts. It was either that or get their hands on special treasures and god personality armaments. That was the only way to improve one's battle power. Han's son felt that even though he had changed to xenogenic mode, his pure power was still worse than Moment God. Unless he had the buffs of powerful treasures and a god personality armament, he would be unable to fight her face to face. Han's son looked at little Angel who was near him. People say they must be away when they drive the car ahead. When the flowers go dim, you can find the village. Now I do not have the power to level up, and god spirit genes cannot be absorbed. Maybe other people cannot level up, but maybe I stand a chance. Little Angel's face was pretty and calm. When she was not in the battle angel mode, one couldn't tell she was actually very powerful. Little Angel has just become primitive now. If she becomes a true god and combines herself with me, she can probably strengthen my fitness by a considerable amount. With all her tricks involved, it might be what I need to tackle Moment God. Han's son made his mind up. He was going to help Little Angel become true god. If he was able to get Xiaqing King, Wang Yuhang, Huang Fujing, and others to true god class, that would help as well. That was especially true of Moment Queen. If she reached true god class, that would be of great service. Leveling up to true god class cost a lot of energy, but Han's son needed to save Golden Growler as soon as possible. Raising one true god would be hard enough. He did not have the time to build a big enough stockpile of resources to get everyone to true god. Resources. 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 I need resources. Space Garden's resources are only sufficient for bringing someone to primitive class. To keep leveling up, we need more resources than what Space Garden can provide. Where can I get more resources? Hansen kept thinking. If he wanted more resources, he would have to fight for some. Aside from that, there did not seem to be another valid option. Whose resources should I take? The first thing Han's son thought to plunder were the spoils of the Extreme King's territory. The Very High had a lot of power, and there were a lot of elites there. Going to Outer Sky would not be very easy. The ancient god always saw the dragon heads, and never the tails. They did not have many resources stored. Taking ancient god's resources was pointless. As for Sky Palace, it was full of elites. Han Yen was practicing in Sky Palace, and Isha was in Sky Palace. He could not go rob Sky Palace of all of its resources. That was the main reason he let Sky Palace's first seat go. Once again, that leaves the Extreme King. Hansen kept thinking about it. He pondered deeply about how he should go about it. He did not think he could just kill the Extreme King. The Extreme King had been in operation for many years. There were lots of elites in that race, but they also had countless troves of treasure. Even if Han's son used his Holy Kirin, and was not afraid of fighting them one-on-one, he was not strong enough to fight the entire Extreme King race. While Hansen wondered about how he should start stealing resources from the Extreme King, he saw the God Palace be approached by a scary creature in space. The god temple the creature went to was at the bottom of the god palace. It was like the thunder god that was eaten by Ghost Car. It was just a destroyed class god spirit. Even so, it was difficult to determine if the scary creature could defeat the god spirit. In the end, it did not manage to kill it. It was almost killed by the god spirit. When it broke its legs, it made a hurried departure from the god temple. While Wang Yuhang and the others dispersed, Han Sun took Ancient Abyss Grandmaster out of Destiny's Tower and locked him up in Purgatory Heaven that Zero managed. In Purgatory Heaven, Han Sun looked at Ancient Abyss Grandmaster and asked, "Grandmaster, can you answer a few questions?" Ancient Abyss Grandmaster was like an old monk meditating. After a while, he opened his eyes and coldly replied, "What difference does it make if I give you answers or not? If your answers satisfy me, perhaps I will let you live," Han Sun said. Ancient Abyss Grandmaster shook his head. "I know a lot of your secrets now. If I were you, I would not let you live at all. Grandmaster is very smart. I won't let you leave, but I can have you live here temporarily, right?" Han Sun laughed and said, "With Grandmaster's tricks, perhaps one day you will find a way to escape." "You are right. If I live, there might be a chance of that happening." Ancient Abyss Grandmaster seemed to be very accepting of this. He raised his head and said, "One question for a 10-year extension of my life." "Sure, but you need to answer at least 10 of my questions," Han Sun said. "If you cannot answer the question, the deal is void." "Fine," Ancient Abyss Grandmaster quickly answered. After thinking for a moment, Han Sun asked, "What do you know about the 9 Defense Palace?" "Do you mean about the spirits?" Ancient Abyss Grandmaster coldly replied. "Yes," Han Sun was delighted. He did not expect Ancient Abyss Grandmaster to know about the spirits there. Ancient Abyss Grandmaster was silent a moment before saying, "I actually don't know much. I only know that when Sacred was destroyed, Mr. Alpha obtained Sacred Leader's research. A part of it was about spirits. There was, of course, 9 Defense Palace. The matters about 9 Defense Palace are articles of knowledge. Only the king and future kings are eligible to learn. I only know a little. I only know that Mr. Alpha wanted to use spirits to create a powerful weapon. It would have likely been a holy spirit similar to the Holy Kirin. Did it pan out?" Han Sun asked. Ancient Abyss looked at Han Sun and asked, "Is that your second question?" "Yeah," Han Sun answered. "I think so," Ancient Abyss Grandmaster said. "The king had a treasure that lasted a long time, but no others have seen it. Everyone who saw that treasure is now dead. In the history of the Extreme King, a few disasters were corrected solely by the existence of that treasure. I think that it was a weapon the Extreme King used spirits to create." Chapter 2970 Light Well Han Sun emerged from Purgatory Heaven 30 minutes later. He returned control of Purgatory Heaven to Zero. The Extreme King really is not simple. I cannot go to King's Kingdom yet, but it will not be hard to harvest the Extreme King's resources first. Han Sun rested in Space Garden for a few days. While he relaxed, he investigated the resources Extreme King possessed. Extreme King's kingdom had the most booty to plunder. Aside from Extreme King's kingdom, there were many other locations he could think about taking resources from too. Han Sun kept looking and picked a place that was more suitable for Little Angel. There was a xenogenic space called Light Well. In that xenogenic space, many wells had light energies in them. The energy holes had deified xenogenic plants inside them, which were called Light Well lotuses. The legends claimed that the Extreme King had been growing those Light Well lotuses. It was unknown how many years it had been, but there must have been a lot of Light Well lotuses. Because the Light Well lotuses did not initially belong to the Extreme King, and it was the Extreme King that destroyed another race to claim them. What happened with the Light Wells was something many people knew about. After the Extreme King took over, they blocked that place. They stationed many soldiers there to guard it. Supposedly, there was one extremely strong deified elite sitting there. So ordinary races did not dare do anything to the Light Well. Han Sun did not care about that too much. He was going to attack the Light Well. While Han Sun was resting, he saw the universe's true god creatures challenge the god spirits. Most of them failed. There were only 3 combatants that had proved successful in their bouts. One of them was Ghost Car. Out of the three of them, only one chose to replace the god flag and god spirit's position to become a new god spirit. They had only challenged a destruction class god spirit. Moment God was an annihilation class god spirit, so nobody dared to challenge her. Although annihilation class god spirits were stronger, even disaster class god spirits were not something other people or creatures wanted to challenge. The Extreme King's army that guarded the light well was always the same. They were in a space fortress scanning the space around to prevent an intrusion or possible invasion. After all those years, no Xenogeniac had dared attempt an invasion. In their hearts, they were no longer on constant alert. A worker who was in charge of observation said, "Huh, it looks like something has reached the entrance of the light well." "Are you joking? Can something reach the light well's entrance? Do you think our Extreme King Space Fortress satellite and battleships are broken?" Another worker laughed and looked disdained. They were the last defense of the light well. The defensive line in front had no movement. They did not think anything had reached where the worker claimed. "There really is something. Huh. It is wearing black armor. Hang on. That is Dollar." After the worker enlarged the camera's video feed, he saw a person standing at the entrance of the light well. After he saw him clearly, he screamed, "Dollar? What Dollar?" His co-worker was confused and could not react. The worker earlier immediately replied, "What other Dollar could it be? He was inside the godless fight." Golden Growler gave Dollar the first place position. All the workers looked at the videotape. They saw a man wearing armor. He was standing at the entrance of the light well. Before they could see things clearly, the person had already punched the entrance to the fortress of the light well. He broke open the entire fortress, revealing the inside of the light well. Han Sen scanned the light well. He saw that in the large place in space there were no stars. He was able to see an asteroid of an inverted cone shape. It was hanging in space. Upon making that discovery, he noticed that this asteroid was much larger than the average planet. There was a circular hole in the asteroid's platform. Inside the hole, there was a lot of light. It was like a spotlight had been switched on. In some energy hole, there were light well lotus flowers that were 30,000 feet long. Under the shining light of the hole, it looked crystallized. It was like a crystal flower from some dream. The light well had a lot of energy in it. Since it was like a well, it was hard to calculate how much. Most of the lights were very dim and colorless. It looked like all the energy had been used. Only a small amount of the light well was bright. Only that small part of the energy still had light well lotus flowers. There was a giant energy well that looked like a sky hole in the center of the light well. After looking inside, he saw there was a light well lotus. It was the size of a space fortress. Han Sen felt an extreme and scary life force stemming from the light well lotus. He felt happy. True God-class plant Xenogeniacs. Han Sen thought it would be great if he could get some transmutation or larvae light well lotuses. He did not expect there to be a big guy there that was true God class. "Who dares come to the light well?" an old voice asked. It was coming from the light well. Han Sen turned around. He saw an Extreme King Elder sitting on a lotus platform on the light well lotus. His whole body was doused in the lotus light. Half of him was just light. He did not seem real. "Do you not know me?" Han Sen was surprised by the fact the old man in the lotus did not recognize who he was. Not many people in the Extreme King did not know who he was by now. "Why would I know who you are?" the old man coldly asked. "It does not matter if you know me or not. You just need to know that the light well belongs to me, Dollar." After speaking, Han Sen summoned his Sky Vince Radish God Lance. A god personality armament. The Extreme King old man's face changed, but he did not emerge from the giant lotus well. He reached out his hand and picked up a giant green metal umbrella. The green metal umbrella's light protected the whole lotus flower. Han Sen did not mind that. He thrust the lance at the Extreme King Elder. Not even a top-class true god Xenogeniac was able to block Han Sen's power with the Sky Radish God Lance. The Extreme King Elder did not dodge or flash away. He forced the green metal umbrella to block the light. Dong! Under Han Sen's lance, the green metal umbrella's light was messed up, but it was unable to pierce through the metal umbrella. The giant light well lotus below shivered and shook. It looked a little bit dimmer. Hansen suddenly frowned. He stared at the metal umbrella the old man was holding, and the giant light well lotus. It was like he had noticed something. The elder coldly said, "My process umbrella is already a part of this light well lotus. If you are forced to break the process umbrella, the light well lotus will be destroyed with it. I advise you to take the light well lotus and leave. Otherwise, you aren't getting anything out of it." 2971 Well Lotus Hansen understood that the old extreme king did not know what sort of trick he had just used. He was able to borrow the light well lotus power and use it on the green metal umbrella. If Hansen attacked the extreme king old man, the power he used would only harm the well light lotus. If Hansen wanted the well light lotus, he could not kill the extreme king old man. You have a good plan. Hansen squinted his eyes and looked at the extreme king old man. There are many primitive light well lotuses, the extreme king old man said with a laugh. Consider them as a gift from me. The extreme king will still have nothing to do with you. Isn't that perfect? What he said was kind of soft and hard. It also made sense. If he was an ordinary person who could not get the true God-class light well lotus, he would not make things any worse by offending the extreme king. But Hansen was very determined to get the true God-class light well lotus. He was not going to leave now. Hansen did not speak. He looked at the primitive class light well lotuses around and waved his lance. He broke the light well lotus. Deified Xenogeniac hunted. Light well lotus. Deified Xenogeniac gene found. All the light well lotuses were cut by Hansen. Many announcements played in his head. Hansen collected the light well lotuses he cut down and threw them into his destiny's tower. Deified Xenogeniac hunted. Light well lotus. Deified Xenogeniac gene found. Deified beast soul obtained. After killing 100 light well lotuses, he finally received the beast soul announcement. He looked into his sea of soul. Deified beast soul light well lotus. By Semtype, incomplete. Hansen was not in the mood to take a look at what the light well lotus by Sema could do. He continued slashing all the light well lotuses around. He received 213 light well lotuses. Out of them all, he only received one beast soul. After he got all the light well lotuses he could, he went back to the giant light well lotus. He looked at the extreme king old man and said, "For by king's sake, if you leave now, I will not kill you." The extreme king old man's expression changed. "You are being such a bully. Are the extreme king really that easy to bully? Does that mean you are not going to leave?" Hansen looked at the old man as he spoke. "I am not leaving. What are you going to do to me?" The old man opened the green metal umbrella and coldly laughed. Hansen's eyes looked weirdly shiny. He stared at the old man's eyes and slowly asked, "Do you think that umbrella will safeguard your life? Maybe I cannot beat you, but if you want to kill me, this lotus will be destroyed," the old man said with certainty. "Really?" One of Hansen's eyes suddenly released some weird light. His eye turned a blood-red color. In the next second, Hansen had already gone right through the light of the green metal umbrella. He entered the old man's eye by using the Blood Eye Evil Eye Beast Soul Eye skill. Blurg. Blood was coming out of the extreme king old man's right eye. Even the back of his head had a bloody gaping hole. Hansen was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance when he reappeared behind the extreme king old man. Green sprouts grew out of the old man's wounds. They kept absorbing the extreme king old man's life force. Arg! The old man held his eye and screamed. He wanted to swing the green metal umbrella he possessed. He had only moved an inch when Hansen's lance cut off his arm. The old man was terrified. He used his other hand to pick up the one that had been lopped off. He then picked up the green metal umbrella and flew away. He disappeared in the sky at the speed of light. "Go home and tell Bai King I used my life to get this," Hansen said to the elder as he fled. "I deserve it." Bai King knew that the holy baby was Dollar, and he had almost got the holy baby killed. Hansen used Dollar's identity to take the light well lotus as a demand for respect. Hansen wanted the light well lotus, but he did not want the light well. Hansen looked at the giant light well lotus. He used the Sky Vine Radish God Lance to strike its root. With the power of the Sky Vine Radish God Lance, Hansen slashed it a dozen times to cut it. Deified Xenogeniac hunted. Light well lotus. Deified Xenogeniac gene found. Deified beast soul obtained. Han Sen was very happy. He did not expect to get another beast soul. He had a look inside his sea of soul. Deified beast soul light well lotus. By Sima perfect. Seeing the word perfect, Han Sen was made even more thrilled. It was a perfect class beast soul. It was equal to a true god class beast soul. He still did not know what the light well lotus by Sima was for. Han Sen put the giant light well lotus inside his destiny's tower and summoned the light well lotus by Sima. Surpassing Han Sen's expectations, the light well lotus by Sima beast soul was quite different from the by Sima beast soul he had before. It was not a by Sima with Han Sen's body for a center. The shadow of a light well lotus was in front of Han Senator. That light well lotus was the center. It opened up a holy light by Sima that was 30,000 feet long. It covered the entire area. Han Sen stood inside the by Sima, but he did not feel his speed or power receive a boost. He did not detect any defensive properties within the light well lotus by Sima either. Seeing the light well lotus's shadow release a holy light, Han Sen jumped. He used the sky vine radish god lance to cut his finger. He had a deep wound. In the light well lotus by Sima, the wound on Han Sen's finger quickly healed. The damage was instantly reversed. Healing by Sima. Han Sen was delighted by this discovery. A by Sima like that was very rare. And it was a true god class by Sima on top of that. It was very effective. Even though his body could heal fast, the sort of healing power he had now must have been the best throughout the entire universe. Han Sen tried it out a few times. He soon discovered a major problem. The light well lotus by Sima's healing holy light did not concern itself with the differences between friend and foe. It did not matter who it was inside. The by Sima would have graced them with its healing power. Han Sen thought, that means I have to be careful when I make use of this. Otherwise, it may become a shield for the enemy. He took all of the light well lotuses with him as he departed the light well. The news concerning Dollar attacking the light well spread across the entire universe. The world is messed up. Even the extreme king were robbed. With the god palaces appearing, it must be a sign of chaos. The universe is not going to be stable anymore. In the extreme king, Bai King heard what the blind old man had to say and sent him away. He sat alone and said, I am afraid that kid is not going to stop. After remaining silent for a bit, Bai King summoned an officer. He told the officer, who was a messenger, to deliver a message for him. Wherever Dollar goes, our people cannot stop him. Let him take whatever he wants. The messenger froze for a while after hearing what Bai King said. He could not react. Ever since he had been born, he had not heard the extreme king issue orders like that. Chapter 2972 Resources delivered. Han Sen was a bit frozen from shock. He had no idea what was going on. He had robbed a lot from many different xenogenic spaces that belonged to the extreme king. Aside from that old man at the light well who challenged him, no one dared stop him when he reached the other places. They did not stop him. And they were like refugees waiting for the army to help them. They opened the gate and prepared vehicles. They gave Han Sen whatever he wanted. They were afraid Han Sen was not being able to be given enough, like a person not eating enough food, because there wasn't enough to go around. What happened? Did all the people in the extreme king suffer a brain stroke? Han Sen had a confused expression. He was expecting some strong and hard battles, during which he could kill all the people he wanted to for fun. Now people were very passionate and willing. They were happy to provide him with whatever he requested. They even gave him cars and vehicles. He couldn't kill them after that. He called an extreme king manager forth and asked him what was going on. The manager politely said, according to Mr. Dollar's question, the answer is that the leader claims you are a VIP for the extreme king. Just tell us if you need anything. If there is not enough, he can tell the leader. He will have whatever you need to be sent to you from different places. Han Sen's expression was weird. He was thinking, what is wrong with Bai King? Han Sen was not sure if Bai King wanted to hurt him by telling him to go to Starter King's land. Now that he was doing this, it just made Han Sen all the more confused. Is it because Bai King knows that he cannot defeat me? Does he want to avoid his losses by concocting another scheme entirely? Han Sen was not able to think of a valid reason for all of this. After robbing a few more places, Han Sen was no longer having any fun. He was going to use the excuse of avenging by king. That way, he had a reason to loot and plunder. Now even Han Sen thought this was all too weird. If I don't take it, then I don't take it. If he gives it to me, why should I not take it? Han Sen made his mind up to keep robbing, but he had already robbed 18 Extreme King xenogenic spaces. He took countless deified xenogenic genes, and the Extreme King did not show a single speck of resistance. They provided Han Sen with everything, and he felt good about it. Ultimately, it was too much for Han Sen to rob. He made a few calculations. The resources he had were enough to support Little Angel in becoming Butterfly class. The resources required to become True God class were not things one could find in any xenogenic space. Even if Han Sen wanted to collect more, aside from King's Kingdom, there were not many places like the Light Well that had True God class resources. Never mind. Let me take Little Angel back and check it out. If it is not enough, we can always come back for more. Although Han Sen thought that, if he was going to have to take more, it was not something he fancied doing. Han Sen took a lot of resources back to Space Garden. He asked Qin Xian to bring people to make genofluids in secret. Those resources had to be hidden. Otherwise, people would have easily figured out he was Dollar. Thus, Han Sen did not allow the flower god people to help him compose the genofluid. The flower gods were now under Han Sen's complete control. The technology for all sorts of genofluids was owned by Han Senator. He told the humans, spirits, and creatures that came from the sanctuaries to help Qin Xian. Regarding the flower gods, Han Sen did not treat them poorly. The resources in Space Garden were all handled by them. They also kept a cut of the genofluids they created. Little Angel had many genofluids, so it accelerated her development. She quickly evolved. In less than 2 months, she was Butterfly class. Ordinary creatures that evolved that quickly would not understand their newfound abilities. It was common for power and level not to match. Then they fought. They couldn't use their true fighting power. Little Angel's situation was different. Han Sen did not need her to fight. He just needed her to combine with him. So it did not matter if she didn't understand anything. The leftover resources contained the True God class Light Well Lotus and 2 Butterfly xenogenic genes. It was going to take a while to refine them. Even if she ate them all, Little Angel would not become a true god. Where else should I go to get resources? Should I rob the Extreme King again? Han Sen thought. Wang Yuhang approached Han Sen and said, Old Han, outside Space Garden. There is an old man that keeps complaining nonstop. He wants to see you. Han Sen looked outside. He saw 9000 King outside of Space Garden. He exited Space Garden and asked 9000 King. 9000 King, what are you doing here? Mister, I have finally found you. 9000 King quickly bowed and told him everything. After Han Sen left the Big Baron system and was hurt by Moment God, 9000 King, the Demon Lady, and the others had been looking for him. Unfortunately, they had been unable to find the injured Han Senator. 9000 King heard Han Sen's roost was inside Space Garden, which was why he was there looking for him. Why are you looking for me? Han Sen hesitantly asked. You were chosen by Sacred Leader, 9000 King said with certainty. It is only natural for them to want to treat you nicely. Didn't Sacred Leader tell them to go wherever they wanted to? He did not command them to follow me. Han Sen frowned. 9000 King immediately laughed. You were chosen by the leader, and Little Master has a holy body. He is their master. If they do not follow you, who are they going to follow? They are resting in sacred. They are waiting for Little Master to return home, and they will bring Little Master with them to follow you. Before Han Sen sent people to look for Little Flower in the sanctuaries, no news about him had been heard. If they said they were going to bring Little Flower, Han Sen did not say anything. He let 9000 King rest in Space Garden. I still need to go and send a message to the Demon Lady and the others, so they do not need to worry any longer, 9000 King said. They also have some savings in the Holy Palace. They want to give it all to you. I will handle the transportation of the goods on your behalf. Oh, I thought their treasures and God personality armaments were destroyed in the fights, Han Sen said. What else do they own? They have xenogenic materials they received for killing xenogenics in the Big Baron system. But they are not great for making treasures, 9000 King explained. So they are materials that cannot be used for making treasures. They plan on giving it all to you. If you cannot use it, then Little Master can use them. Han's son had a lack of resources now, so he did not mind receiving more resources. He thought about it and followed 9000 King back to the Big Baron system so Little Angel could become a true god soon. As for Little Flower, with Han's son being there, he would obtain more resources. There were more and more elites challenging the god spirits. Many god spirits had been killed, and there were many god personality armaments. Many scary creatures that were not on the god list fights were going to tackle the god palaces. They wanted to put their flags down and become gods, or just kill god spirits to obtain god personality armaments. But they only challenged the destruction class god spirits. No one dared to challenge the god spirits of a higher level. Han's son planned to kill some god spirits too. He wanted to claim their god personality armaments and save Golden Growler. He saw Golden Growler become weaker every day. He was in a rush to save him. Han's son did not really care about evolving, putting his flag down, and becoming a god. Being a god spirit meant one was immortal, but one could always be replaced. Even if one did not get replaced, one would have to guard the god temple forever. That was like being in jail for eternity. Chapter 2973 Blue Blood Myth. Before Han's son followed 9000 King to leave Space Garden, someone else came to visit. The person who came to Space Garden was God's Retribution. Han's son was shocked. He did not know why God's Retribution had come there. When God's Retribution saw Han's son, he checked him out with a look of surprise. It made Han's son's heart skip. He asked, "What are you looking at? You got hit by Moment God, who is an annihilation god spirit, yet you are fine," God's Retribution said with a smile. "It seems Godfather Han lives up to his title." "What Han Godfather? Stop laughing at me. I have only just recovered from that wound." Han's son paused and looked at God's Retribution before saying, "You are a very busy person. You won't go to the free treasure palace, so what are you looking at me for exactly?" "I want to come here and chill with you. Unfortunately, time is against me. After I left the sanctuaries, all I have done is practice, practice, and practice. I do not even have the time to close my eyes. I have barely become primitive class, yet you are already true God. You are making people jealous and envious." God's Retribution sighed and went on to say, "This time, I have come here on behalf of the Legion's orders. We need you to come and see Blood Legion. The Legion's leader says he wants to see you." "Which leader of Blood Legion are you talking about?" Han's son frowned. He remembered Blood Legion's leader was Mr. Li, who was trapped inside a coffin in the sanctuaries. "It is not the one you are thinking of. The leader is the creator of Blood Legion. He is the first leader. You can call him Human King." God's Retribution's answer made Han's son's body shiver. Han's son wanted to ask for some details, but God's Retribution said he did not know much. He said if he had any questions, he could go and ask the Legion leader directly. Han's son thought about it and decided to go to Blood Legion. He had many questions about Blood Legion that he wanted answers to. Back when Han Jinji was taken away by Blood Legion, Han's son did not know what he did or what the legend was. He also did not know why Lu Lai was a real human of Blood Legion. He also had a few questions about the Blood Pulse Sutra. It was also possible that Blood Legion's leader, who was called Human King, could give him the answers he sought. So, Han's son allowed 9000 King to return to the Big Baron system alone, while he went ahead to see Blood Legion alongside God's Retribution. Han's son did not trust Blood Legion, because Blood Legion's people had blue blood. They were different from humans. Blood Legion had been in the universe for many years. Despite that, they had never lifted a finger to help humanity. Those 2 points alone were enough to make Han's son feel unsafe around Blood Legion. Even though Blood Legion's leader was called Human King, he was still worried. Although Han's son thought of that, he still had to go. God's Retribution took Han's son to a weird ship. Inside the ship, Han's son's Dongxian area could not be used. That made Han's son frown. God's Retribution seemed to know Han's son worried a lot. He said, "All these years in Blood Legion, We have been chased by a particular god spirit. So, we have to be prepared. The design of this ship is not against you. It is because we do not want to be tracked by the god spirit. Why would a god spirit want to kill the people of Blood Legion? Hansen asked. It is all we are humans, God's retribution said. It was an honest answer. But it was an answer that made Hansen more suspicious. I am a human too. There are also many humans in Space Garden. Why has the god spirit not come to trouble us? Hansen took this seriously. God's retribution was silent a moment before saying, I am not sure about why that is. Someone asked me the same question, but I was never sure of what to tell them. So, I just have to guess that it has something to do with the blue blood. Blue blood, Hansen said to himself. All of the key questions led back to the beginning. Blood Legion's members had blue blood, and the blue blood came from the human genes. This blue blood gene power was only activated after several generations practiced Blood Pulse Sutra. Hansen was the first generation of humans to study the Blood Pulse Sutra, so he did not have the blue blood. Even Little Flower and Little Linger, who were the second generation, did not have blue blood. So blue blood did not come about even in the second generation. It took many generations of humans practicing Blood Pulse Sutra for their blood to start becoming blue. Hansen practiced the Blood Pulse Sutra, but he could never sense the Blood Pulse Sutra giving any sort of blue blood power. It just made his genes and genetic qualities better. Before that, Hansen had many guesses. According to the theories he came up with, the human body should have had a hidden blue gene. The chance of it being activated with the genes of a human was more than slim. It was so small that it could not affect the bodies of humans. That was why one needed Blood Pulse Sutra for several generations. It was to fulfill and pump that blue blood gene. That way, the blue blood gene was able to become the main part of a human's genes. If Hansen guessed all of this correctly, the blue blood genes did not come from the crystallizers, because the crystallizers did not have blue blood men. They were just like humans with red blood. There was more evidence to support the fact that crystallizers did not have blue blood genes. God's retribution and his fellows were not like ordinary human beings, and could not absorb the genes of creatures. The members who had blue blood would have to evolve by themselves. They were not able to combine their genes with the genes of any other creature. It worked like that in the sanctuaries, so it had to be the same in the big universe as well. God's retribution said he was now equal to a primitive deified. He did not say he was exactly though. No matter if a blue blood man was in the sanctuaries or the big universe, they were a very unique sort of people. They kind of existed outside the rules, but they had big connections to ordinary humans. That was something that flummoxed Han Senator. The crystallizers were different. They were standard universal creatures. They were the same as humans in the sanctuaries. They followed the rules of the big universe to grow up. That was different from the blue blood men. So there was no way the blue blood genes came from the crystallizers. Hansen thought. Stay Up Late said that humans were the results of crystallizers using their genes to combine with the genes of other creatures. The blue blood genes had to come from that creature, but what was that creature? One thing Hansen knew for sure was that the progress of the Blood Pulse Sutra was progress for making blue blood genes take over the genes of humans. Hansen did not know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. He also did not know what sort of creature that was. The reason Hansen knew Blood Pulse Sutra was very strong was that it could make the next generation, and the generation after that stronger. He did not let his family practice the Blood Pulse Sutra, not even Little Flower and Linger. The ship left slip space and flew into a barren system. There were many stars, and there was a giant red dwarf. 2974. You'll never know. Hansen finally saw Human King. The Human King before him was almost like a statue. He was an elegant middle-aged man. His youthful face made him look like he was 20 years old, but his presence made it clear that he was older. After entering the Red Dwarf, Hansen had seen many Blood Legion members. They were like God's retribution. They did not have a level that other creatures of the universe were determined by. But Hansen did not believe any of them were weak. In fact, Hansen had been so shocked on his way there. Aside from the Extreme King, Sky Palace, the Very High, and the other high races, He did not think any other race of the universe could be as strong as Blood Legion. Han Sen was unable to tell what level they were, but he felt a dangerous presence surrounding each individual. You are finally here, my child. Human King sat on the throne. He placed his jaw in his hands and looked at Han Sen with interest. Han Sen thought that sounded weird, to say the least, but Human King was the alpha human. He suspected that calling him his child was normal behavior. Even still, Han Sen thought it was rather odd. You should just call me Han Sen, Han Sen thought. Even if you are Human King, you cannot produce a race. There must be another human alpha. Perhaps you and I are related. Human King seemed to see through what Han Sen was thinking. Human King's lips curved slightly. He gently said, in the beginning, crystallizers used their genes as blueprints to combine with the genes of other creatures. Many creatures were created this way. Humans were one such product. Back then, they created 13 humans, and I was one of them. I was one of 13 alpha humans. Including me, there were 3 men and 10 women. As far as I know, the other 2 men did not make it. They could not produce children. Human King laughed out loud and asked, so, do I have what it takes to call you a child? Han Sen did not answer the question. He instead asked, why do you want to see me? Han Sen could not deny that Human King might have truly been his ancestor. But Han Sen was now holding the fate of many lives back in Space Garden. He also did not know what Human King wanted. Han Sen wouldn't risk Space Garden and the fates of others just because he was an ancestor. He had to figure things out before he committed to anything. Human King still looked at Han Sen with interest. It was like he was observing a new toy. After a while, Human King said, you practice Life Door. Yes. Why accept Blood Pulse Sutra if there is Life Door? Han Sen was always confused about that. After he practiced Life Door, he only knew it would boon his Blood Pulse Sutra. He never knew what it did. Blood Pulse Sutra and Life Door were created by me. The difference is that Blood Pulse Sutra is what I experienced, and Life Door contains my thoughts. They are failed imaginations. So in Blood Legion, no one else has opened their Life Door. Up until now, only you and I have ever opened their Life Door. What? Han Sen was shocked. His eyes opened wide as he looked at Human King. He never thought he would receive such an answer. Human King seemed to be satisfied with Han Sen's reaction. He laughed and went on to say, you should feel it. Your Blood Pulse Sutra is different from the Blood Pulse Sutra known by God's Retribution. You have many powers that God's Retribution and the others do not have. It is as if your genes are stronger. Your Blood Pulse Sutra can aid other creatures in evolving. It is no wonder why I felt my Blood Pulse Sutra was different from God's Retribution, Han Sen said with a nod. He had guessed it was something like this before. So this was the confirmation he had always sought. Even so, Han Sen was still confused. He looked at Human King and asked, if Life Door is that powerful, why do you claim it is a failure? Why do you not let other Blood Legion members practice it? Human King did not answer Han Sen's question. He looked like he was smiling, but he was not smiling. He looked at Han Sen and asked, you have practiced for a long time. You must know how Blood Pulse Sutra works, yes? Why don't you tell me? Han Sen did not know why he asked that, but he still said, if I had to wager a guess, the Blood Pulse Sutra is for extracting some kind of gene from the human body. Upon hearing this, Human King nodded. Yes, I created the Blood Pulse Sutra so that humans could return to being what they originally were. I wanted to purify their blood for pure humans again. Life Door's genes are not pure. They will give all the genes priority that goes against what I want. Thus to me Life Door is a failure. Han Sen now understood that Life Door was not really a failure. It was just because it was not what Human King wanted. That was why he claimed it was a failure. Are saying the origin is the blue blood gene? Han Sen asked. Why are humans with blue blood genes considered real humans? Human King looked at Han Sen and coldly answered. Humanity is a race created by the crystallizers combining their genes with that of another creature. If you were able to guess the usage of Blood Pulse Sutra, you should know why the blue blood genes result in true humans. Are you saying that human genes are the result of crystallizer genes and blue blood people's genes? What race are the blue blood people? Han Sen's heart quickly jumped. He really wanted to know the answer. You managed to claim Qin Shio's holy spirit, yet you didn't know Qin Shio's blood was blue. Human King squinted his eyes as he looked at Han Sr. What? Han Sen screamed. Are you saying humans are the byproduct of crystallizer genes being mixed with sacred leader Qin Shio's genes? Han Sen suddenly understood a lot more. He understood why the god spirit picked on humans. It also explained why God said those with blue blood were real humans. It was all because of sacred leader Qin Shio. Apparently, Human King loved to see Han Sen keep losing his mind. He laughed and said, back then, sacred was destroyed during the god fights. Qin Shio battled a sky full of god spirits, but he was ultimately defeated. Crystallizers were fortunate enough to claim one drop of his blood when Qin Shio blew up. They researched it. When they retreated into the sanctuaries, they combined that blood with the genes of their own crystallizers. They produced 13 humans. After pausing, Human King went on to say, but the crystallizers' genes were weak, and Qin Shio's genes were not studied enough. The genes of a human were only a small part of it. I created the Blood Pulse Sutra, so we could activate, develop, and recover that missing gene, so that human genes could lean more toward Qin Shio. After saying that, Human King sighed. I never expected what I wanted to do would fail, and it happened when it was not meant to be. The life door I believed to have failed helped you create Little Flower. He has a body like Qin Shio, but he does not have blue blood. You'll never know. Chapter 2975 Better Than True God. Do you know Little Flower? Han Sen frowned and looked at Human King. Little Flower was taken by Old Cat a long time ago. He had been trapped in sacred. Aside from showing up in the Geno being scroll fight, no one else had seen him. Yet, Human King knew about Little Flower, and he knew a lot about him. Nine Life Cat represented Blood Legion, and was a mascot for them. It made Han Sen start to think of many things. Human King weirdly looked at Hans and asked, do you want to know about the relationship between me and Old Cat? Han Sen nodded but did not say anything. Human King laughed to himself. To be honest with you, I am just like you. We are the failures that were abandoned by Old Cat. I do not understand what you mean, Han Sen said. Old Cat was the guardian of the sanctuaries, Human King coldly said. Without his help, do you think the crystallizers would have been able to hide in the sanctuaries for good? I even wondered that. With the crystallizers sharing Qin Shio's blood, and escaping to the sanctuaries to do all kinds of research, everything that happened involved Old Cat and Qin Shio. Perhaps it was Qin Shio who was trying to find his heir. After that, Human King looked at Han Senator. He went on to say, you and I are the failures Old Cat has been watching over the years. He gave up. Only your son Little Flower was approved by Old Cat. He became Qin Shio's heir. Han Sen now understood what Human King meant. Simply said, Human King was just like him. They had Old Cat's help and attention, but they were not selected by him. Human King squinted his eyes as he peered at Han Senator. It looked like he was smiling, but he was not smiling. You should not think that being an ancestor of Qin Shio is a good thing. It is actually the opposite. If Qin Shio dared to choose my son as an ancestor, I would do all in my power to rip him apart and destroy all that remained of his petty factions. What Human King said was something Han Sen was in total agreement with, but he still wanted to know why Human King felt that way. Therefore he asked, why? He took my son and sent my son to die, Human King coldly said. That is enough of a reason for me to kill his entire family 10,000 times over. Are you saying Qin Shio's plan would not work? Han Sen quietly asked. He understood what that meant. If he succeeded, sacred would not be what it is today. Human King looked at Han Sr. Don't you have the Holy Spirit of that Kirin Qin Shio made? What do you think of that Kirin's Holy Spirit power? It is very strong, Han Sen said. Really? Human King's smile grew deeper. You should use that Holy Kirin spirit that you said is very strong to strike me as hard as you can. I want to see how strong Qin Shio's stuff is. Sure, if you don't mind that. Han Sen pulled out his cause karma knife and summoned the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit on it. The Kirin's Holy Spirit possessed a blade. It was possible for it to be anything, as long as it was a weapon. Han Sen wanted to know how strong Human King was, so he was not going to deny Human King's request. He also knew Human King had suggested this as a way for him to gauge Han Sen's strength. So, there was no use denying him. Han Sen looked at Human King. The holy light on the blade was strong. It was like a demon flame that flickered. Human King was still sitting on the throne. He observed Han Sen and his knife with interest. "I am so sorry." Han Sen slashed Human King like mad. The knife light was like some laser that could split a world. It came right before Human King. Ding! Human King did not move. Even his face remained the same. He continued to sit where he was. Somehow, his hand appeared beneath the knife. His middle finger and index finger captured Han Sen's cause karma knife. That scary knife light was immediately broken by his very powerful fingers. Han Sen's expression changed. Although he had not used all of his strength with that slash, it was still at about 70%. Despite that, the Holy Kirin's scary power was able to kill a top-class true god Xenogeniac. It could not, however, beat Human King's 2 fingers. Human King let his fingers go and looked at Han Sr. "You are being too polite. If it was me, I would strike as hard as I could." Before Han Sen was able to say anything, Human King asked, "What do you think of my power?" "It's very strong." Han Sen used only those words to describe it, because he could not yet gauge just how strong he was. "My power is still not as strong as Qin Xiu, considering the thing Qin Xiu wanted to do back then. Do you think this Holy Spirit, which Qin Xiu himself did not know if it was a success or not, was something he could do? In the end, the heir he selected was just a test. They were lab rats whose sole purpose was for testing." Human King spoke with a look of disdain. "Hang on. Why is your power?" Han Sen felt Human King's power was better than most people at True God class. He felt as if he was no weaker than Moment God. "Why are my powers stronger than a true god?" Human King laughed and looked at Han Sr. "You should know the answer. Because Qin Xiu had blue blood genes. For humans to be better than a sky full of races, you need what it takes to battle god spirits. If you are willing to, I can make you a member of the Blue Bloods. For you, it means you can become stronger. You would be much stronger than you are now. You might end up as strong as Qin Xiu was back then." Han Sen did not speak. He silently rejected Human King's offer. That offer seemed tempting, but there were many things he wished to figure out first. If blue blood genes were that powerful, Qin Xiu would not lose. Thinking about that from a different perspective, if Qin Xiu thought his blood could overcome god spirits, why did he not seek to continue his bloodline? Even if he could not make babies, with Sacred's technology, they could copy the genes of Qin Xiu. That would not have been difficult to do. Yet, Qin Xiu had not done that, and there had to be a reason for it. Telling me all these secrets cannot be the sole purpose for seeking me out. What do you want me to do for you? Han Sen still had not figured out why Human King had called him there. "You do not have to do anything for me," Human King coldly said. "You are human. Your sons and daughters are humans. So my child, no matter whether you are willing to or not, you and I will be the same. Go against the god spirits, and do whatever you think it is we must do. There is no need for me to request anything." Han Sen still did not understand. Due to the fact Qin Xiu wanted to destroy god palaces and kill god spirits, the god spirits wanted to erase Qin Xiu's bloodline. That logic seemed to make sense, but Han Sen thought there was a problem somewhere. He just couldn't figure out what the problem was. "I asked you here to remind you, my child, that you cannot trust Qin Xiu. You cannot rely on the relics of his past. Maintain your crystallizer identity. No matter what happens, tell no one about your true identity. You need to do that to live longer and have more chances." Human King looked serious. Chapter 2976 Sky God Crown. Han Sen had received many answers from Human King. When he left Blood Legion, he still had a few things that had yet to be cleared up. Just as Human King said, he did not ask Han Sen to do anything for him. It seemed as if he was just convincing him not to expose the identity of humans in the universe. Human King also gave him Blood Pulse Sutra's final part. He told him that if he was willing to, all he had to do was practice the final part for his blood to turn into blue blood. Although this method was not as pure as passing it through generations, it would still give Han's son blue blood power. The price to pay was that Han's son would lose all the Geno arts he currently had. He would not even be able to make use of beast souls. All he would be able to use was blue blood power. Human King did not force Han's son to do that. It was a decision that had to be made by Han. Senator Han's son asked a few questions regarding Han Jinji. Human King said Han Jinji was not a member of Blood Legion. He did not possess blue blood. Aside from that, he did not say anything else concerning him. On his way back, Han's son kept thinking, Human King told me a lot, but I feel like he was holding back on a lot of important details. He had yet to be given answers to many of the questions he had. Hansen also thought there was a big problem. He just did not know what it was. What is up with Han Jinji? Human King should not be lying about something like this. But why did the people of the 7th team say Han Jinji had blue blood? What was that all about? Han's son was very confused about this little nugget of information. He thought his trip to Blood Legion would enable him to receive answers concerning Han Jinji. Now, it seemed as if it was a pointless venture. He still did not know anything about Han Jinji. Human King may have known something, but it was obvious he did not want to spend much time talking about Han Jinji. Han's son returned to Space Garden. 9000 King had yet to return, but another pair of guests had arrived. The green-haired Growler and Ghana woman arrived at Space Garden. When Hansen saw them, the green-haired beast did not say anything. It put its head in front of Han's son and quietly groaned. Sorry I offended you. You can take my life, but please save Little Mountain Leader. Get up, Han's son said with a wave of his hand. I am going to save Little Gold, but you guys should know my power is not enough to fight Moment God yet. I require more time to prepare what is necessary. If there is something you need, please tell us, the Ghana woman coldly said. If it can save Little Mountain Leader, we will do anything. If you want to save Little Gold from Moment God Temple, we need more than just us. We require more aid. So I need resources to make my friends stronger. If you guys have deified xenogeneic genes, can you give them to me? Hansen thought Empty Mountain must have had a lot of good stuff. Perhaps he was able to obtain some resources from them. Empty Mountain has some deified xenogeneic genes, the Ghana woman said. I will give them to you later. They were currently unable to ask anyone else for help. Han's son was the only person they could turn to. At least they knew Han's son truly wanted to save Golden Growler. That dollar really is bad stuff, the green-haired Growler madly said. Little Mountain Leader gave him the first seat on the God list. Yet when Little Mountain Leader was in trouble, he did not show up. Han's son gave a wry smile, and thought that dollar did not show up because he was blown up. But what the green-haired Growler said reminded Han's son that Golden Growler gave dollar the God list first place. If dollar still did not show up, it might make him look bad. Although dollar's race was different from Han's son, and no one expected him to be Han's son, it was still wrong. After sending the green-haired Growler and Ghana woman away, Hansen thought about matters for a while. He eventually decided to challenge the God Spirit with dollar's identity. This time, the God Spirit Han's son decided to challenge was not Moment God. It was going to be the disaster class No World God. Han's son heard the demon lady say that No World God's power could enable him to be immune to time powers for a while. If he was able to get his hands on No World God's God personality armament, it would be a great help for saving Golden Growler. When there was no one around, Han's son turned into xenogeneic mode and equipped himself with his Dongxian armor. He then wore the Sky God crown. The Sky God crown was an Annihilation class God personality armament. It was 2 levels higher than the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. It was a God personality armament that was almost as good as Moment God. Han's son had never used the Sky God crown before because he did not know what power it possessed. It was not like it was high level or automatically useful like the Light Well Lotus Beast Soul. Although it was a high-level beast soul, its power involved healing. In a deathmatch battle, it would not serve much of a purpose, Hansen thought. Back then, God said the Sky God crown would allow me to enter the Geno halls freely. Now the Geno halls are all on display. Does the Sky God crown have any other uses? After thinking for a while, he had decided to wear the Sky God crown. The moment Han's son put on the sky god crown, a god-light mist like a rainbow came down. It covered his entire body. From afar, Han's son looked like a godly rainbow mist. Catcha! Han's son saw the universe's cogwheels spin. It was like there was a giant mechanical door opening in front of him. This was like the core area or the god area opening. The door did not open solely for Han's senator, it was because of the sky god crown. Han's son looked at the space door. He saw a rainbow mist light. Countless substance chains were connected. One was not able to see what it was. After hesitating for a moment, Han's son walked toward the rainbow mist light that was flowing around the door. After his body completely walked through the door closed. It disappeared back into the nether of space. The weird scene was gone too. This is God Temple. Han's son frowned and looked at what was in front of him. It was a jade stone God Temple. Beneath Han's son's feet was a God Temple. He saw Skyvine Radish God be revived in this temple. He was not wrong about that. This was a God Temple, and he was standing on the altar of the God Temple. Annihilation God Temple opened. Name the God Temple. A voice echoed through the God Temple. A God flag flew toward Han Sr. What is going on? Did I become a God spirit? Han's son frowned and looked at the empty God flag. The God flag he used to see already had names. This one was empty. There was nothing on the flag. Han's son did not want to be a God spirit. Even if it was an annihilation class God spirit, he did not want that. You are finally here. Chapter 2977 God Spirit's Special Authority. Han's son looked at God and said, "You got here at just the right time. Why did I become a God spirit for just wearing this sky god crown?" God laughed and said, "You did not become a God spirit. Because the sky god crown is here, you temporarily became a God spirit. If you remove the sky god crown, none of that will exist." After hearing that, Han took off the sky god crown and departed the God Temple. When he put the sky god crown again, he returned to that God Temple. The white God flag appeared in front of him. Is that all this sky god crown does? Han's son was disappointed. To him, becoming a God spirit did not appear to be particularly useful. God sat down on the God altar's edge and casually asked, "Is that still not enough for you? You do not need to do what God spirits do, but you get to enjoy the benefits of a God spirit. Many God spirits would like that." Han Sen's heart jumped as he quickly asked, "What responsibility and benefits do gods have?" "As long as you wear the sky god crown, if the sky god crown is not broken, you will be like other God spirits," God said. "You will have an immortal body inside the God Temple. Even if you are killed, you will respawn here in the God Temple." Han's son lifted his lips and asked, "What does that mean? I do not want to be stuck inside a God Temple forever." Of course it does have meaning. For example, if you are up against a powerful enemy that you cannot beat, you do not need to be afraid of dying when you are in the God Temple. You can fight them without fear. God laughed. Han's son shook his head. "That does not make sense. If I were killed by my enemy, he would just take my God flag. Then, I would end up dead. That is the power of Sky God Crown. Even if someone removes your flag, it will just break your Sky God Crown. You will still respawn, but you will lose the authority of being a God spirit." God pointed at the Sky God Crown and went on to say, "Plus, when you're a God spirit, you have the authority of a God spirit. You can trade with any creature in the universe and gain their lifespan." Han's son had always wondered that. The God spirits were immortal existences, so why did they require the years of others? Based on God's method, they used a lot of effort. They would do anything for another creature's lifespan. Han's son did not understand why they did it. To the immortal God spirits, what is the point of extending their lifespan? Han's son pretended to look disdained. "About that, you will understand in the future." God did not answer Han's son's question. He laughed and told Han's son, "As for the responsibilities of gods, it is quite simple. There is only one task, which is to protect the Geno Hall and forbid it from being invaded by other creatures." "Protect the Geno Hall?" Han's son asked with an obvious look of confusion. "Does the Geno Hall require protection? Let's not talk about other things. But that woman inside the Geno Hall is invincible." God shook his head. The goddess you talk about is one of the 12 Annihilation-class god spirits. Those 12 Annihilation-class god spirits guard the Geno Hall in sequence. Their responsibility is the same as all the other god spirits though. There is no difference between them. What about the Geno Hall? Does the Geno Hall have no god spirits? Hansen quickly asked. God laughed but did not answer. When you enter the Geno Hall, you will understand. As long as you have the Sky God crown, you will earn the benefits of a god spirit minus the responsibility. You can also give up the god spirit identity whenever you please. Are you still not satisfied with this good stuff? Aside from all that, Sky God crown has no battle abilities? Hansen still thought it was useless for him to become a god spirit. God laughed. Of course. The Sky God crown is almost indestructible. Its durability is stronger than most Annihilation-class god personality armaments. You can use it like a brick, but the item itself does not have battle power. Okay, you should think of a powerful title now. Once you have a god name, you can really enjoy the powers of being a god. You said there were only 12 Annihilation god spirits, Hansen said. If I use the Sky God crown, will I count as one of the 12? Will I have to go and guard the Geno Hall? You do not need to, God answered with certainty. Did I not tell you? You are not a real god spirit. You do not take on the responsibilities of god spirits. Hansen knew that God was not a liar, but he was still disappointed. If he could go to the Geno Hall, he would like to see what the interior of that place looked like. Seeing the empty god flag, Hansen thought for a few moments and said, I will call myself the god of wealth. I love that name, and it goes with my name $. Huh. God heard Hansen's god title and laughed. He weirdly looked at Hansen and said, Your god name is very happy. It's not bad and very creative. I know, right? This title is great. Hansen knew that God did not mean it, but he did not mind. The front of the white god flag now had the word wealth on it. The back displayed the words God of. The flag shone with a god light. It flew out of the god hall and stuck to the god temple's door. The moment the god flag went there, the Sky God crown on Hansen's head shone brightly. Many mysterious messages emerged from the Sky God crown, which made him understand many things. I see it now. Hansen was feeling mysterious messages. He suddenly seemed to really understand what it was like to be a god spirit. He was not clueless anymore. Aside from what God said, the god spirits had other powers. It was better than what Hansen expected. God spirits earned the buffs of a god temple, and the buffs did not merely apply to immortality. There was a god power buff. The higher level the god temple was, the more god power he would receive. Hansen had that Annihilation-class god temple. It gave Hansen god power buffs. It made his battle power increase another level. That buff only worked in his god temple area. If he left the god temple, the god power buff would be gone. There was also a special god spirit authority. That special authority only belonged to god spirits. Every god spirit had its authority, different god temples, and different god spirit powers and different authorities. Hansen did not know what other powers god spirits had. The god spirit authority he received was called wealth. If any creature paid with their lifespan, Hansen could bless them with some wealth and give them significant wealth for a short amount of time. Of course, god spirit authorities could only be used when that person paid a sum of their years. The scarier thing was that the wealth Hansen gave did not just come out from nowhere. It used the wealth that the person would have in the future. If Hansen gave someone more wealth than he earned in his life, very bad things would happen to that person. Chapter 2978 Fulfill Your Wishes. Hansen thought. Is an Annihilation-class god spirit's authority just wealth? Those gods used to say they could do anything and fulfill any wish they wanted to. That is such a big scam. According to the god spirit rules, god spirits could not give fake information. If they lied, they would not be able to finalize a trade. They would not receive the lifespans they sought. To compose a trade, god spirits would use everything they could. I really don't understand why they seem to be so keen on seeking out years. Sky God Crown's message had not included that. Therefore, Hansen was unable to find out. That aside, god spirits had the authority to leave the god temples. They were not able to leave the god temples for long. During that period, the god temple was sealed up so they could not be challenged. Unless the god spirits possessed a creature of the universe, they would not be able to leave for a very long time. If they did do that, they would not receive protection from the god temples anymore. If they died, they died. Unless the god personality was taken back to the god temple, they could no longer be respawned. There was still one very important thing. God spirits were allowed to challenge god spirits that were a higher level than them. But that was pointless for Han Sen, because he was not a real god spirit. He could not level up his position any higher. Even if he could challenge them, Han Sen was already annihilation level. He could only challenge god spirits that were at a higher level than him. Han Sen could not fight an enemy that was the same annihilation class as he was. To challenge a reboot class god spirit was a death wish. Han Sen would never have tried being so bold. Han Sen looked at God and wished to say something, but God winked at him. He looked at the door of the god temple and said, "You have business to attend to." "What do you mean?" Han Sen looked at the god temple's door. He did not see anything. He turned around and looked at God, but he was gone. While Han Sen was wondering what was going on, he saw someone fly into the god plaza area. They were flying toward his god temple. Han Sen wondered, "It cannot be this much of a coincidence. I have only just become a god spirit, and a creature in the universe already wants to challenge me." According to what Han Sen had been inspecting, the universe creatures only dared challenging destruction class god spirits. No one dared to challenge disaster class. Why would a creature go and challenge him, who was annihilation class? That body was coming straight for Han Sen's god temple. It soon entered the radius of the god temple. The god palace and god temples were situated in a realm that was between reality and space. No matter where one was in the universe, if one's mind was in God's palace, one could go there. A creature that was able to fly in the universe could just use an airship to go to a god palace. It did not matter how far or near one was. Han Sen stared at the body. He was shocked. It was someone he knew. Why is Fox Queen coming here for? Han Sen thought. Fox Queen was the wife of Ghostbone General. As far as Han Sen knew, her power was not very strong when compared to most deifieds. She was not able to fight a destruction class god spirit. How could she hope to tackle an annihilation class god spirit? While Han Sen was making guesses, Fox Queen was already in the plaza of the god temple. By the rules of the god spirits, Han Sen had no choice but to fight. Otherwise, Fox Queen was able to replace his god spirit flag. As long as the sky god crown was not broken, he would not die. Fox Queen came before the god temple and kneeled as if she was praying to a god. "Mr. God of Wealth, I want to make a wish to you. Please help me." It looks like she is not here to challenge a god spirit. Han Sen was shocked. He said, "If you have come for a wish, then come in and speak." "Thank you, Mr." Fox Queen entered God Temple. Han Sen's heart jumped. The God Temple's gate closed down, leaving only him and Fox Queen, the two of them inside. "Tell me about your wish. I will fulfill your wish." Han Sen stood upon the God altar. He looked at Fox Queen with a very serious look as he spoke. Fox Queen was the wife of Ghostbone General. She must have known all about god spirits. There was an 80% to 90% chance that she knew there was a consequence for the formation of wishes. Han Sen wondered why she had still come there to make a wish. Fox Queen kneeled again. Her fox eyes stared at Han Senator. She spoke very softly. "I only have one wish. Please help me get back my Fox Race's race weapon 9-spin destiny mirror. If that can be done, I am willing to do anything." Because the sky god crown had a light above, it made Han Sen look like a god enveloped in rainbow god light. Only his body was visible. One was not able to see his face. Fox Queen was not able to tell that he was Han Senator. That fact made Han Sen feel strange. After Fox Queen made a wish, Sky God Crown sent a message to Han Senator. It said that if he was able to fulfill Fox Queen's wish, he would earn a lifespan of 300. The Sky God Crown showed that if Han Sen finished the wish, he could at least get 300 lifespans. It was not just 300 lifespans. He actually was able to get more than that. It was like if Han's son picked up the 9-spin destiny mirror and gave it to her. He would only get the lowest amount of lifespans available. If he went and stole it from some scary elite and returned the 9-spin destiny mirror to her, she would pay with a lot more of her years. Aside from that, she would also get karma. She would have to pay the price. Han Sen's God spirit power was just wealth. Fox Queen's wish was not in his power to fulfill. Han's son had to find a way to finish Fox Queen's wish. If he was unable to finish it, his lifespan would be damaged. Accepting a wish was a double-edged sword. If God's spirits accepted the wish, they had to find a way to finish it. If they could not complete it, they would have to scam the wisher to get and keep the lifespan. God's spirits employed every dirty trick in the book. Fox Queen's wish was something Han's son wanted to complete. That was because he had the 9-spin destiny mirror. Han's son still hesitated. He did not know if the 9-spin destiny mirror was worth the 300 years. To universal creatures, lifespan was very important. Han's son was not a real God spirit. He was not immortal. Now Han's son had a lifespan of 2000. That seemed like a very long time. To many creatures of the universe, it was nothing. Fox Queen was nervous. She had taken a big risk coming to make a wish. There was nothing else she could do. She had to do this. Going to the God temple to make a wish was a dangerous prospect. If the God did not want her to make a wish, they could simply kill her. She would have been killed. Chapter 2979. Forever a slave. Han's son felt a bit regretful about allowing Fox Queen to enter the God temple and make a wish. After she made her wish, he was unable to hurt or kick Fox Queen to the curb. He was not allowed to reject the wish. He had to find a way to make her wish come true. Han's son saw that the 9-spin destiny mirror was only worth 300 years of her lifespan. That was too little for him, so he did not want to make the trade. Fortunately, Han Sen's position as a god was Annihilation class. Compared to the Destruction class and Disaster class, Annihilation god spirits had special powers. It was like Han's son was able to apply more rules that lesser god spirits could not enforce. A Destruction class god spirit did not have that power. Of course, Destruction class god spirits were able to make the same conditions, but the conditions they enforced would not be protected by the rules of god spirits. Even if the wisher betrayed the rules, the Destruction class god spirit could not do anything about it. Upon hearing this, Fox Queen felt her body shake. Although she knew she was going to lose some years of her lifespan, hearing the two conditions made her scared. Based on her knowledge of god spirits, she knew looking for a Destruction class god spirit to make a wish would not put on an extra condition. Destruction class god spirits may not have been able to take the 9-spin destiny mirror from Han Senator, even if it was taken back. The price to pay would have been very high. Perhaps her lifespan would be all gone. Fox Queen risked coming there to find an Annihilation class god spirit. She hoped such a god spirit would complete the wish with ease, and she would not have to pay up much of her lifespan. High-class god spirits had the power to apply an additional charge. Fox Queen was helpless to control it. If she did not agree to the extra condition, the wish would not be done. It would become a problem. There was a chance she would not leave that place alive. Please tell me, mister. Fox Queen looked at Han's son with sad eyes. Her face looked very pitiable. It was the sort of look that could make one buckle and comply with whatever she wanted. It made people want to comfort her. By using small tricks against me, do you want to die? Han's son coldly grunted. His body had god powers. It was like hell. It was like a sea. It was headed for Fox Queen. Fox Queen's body shivered. She immediately kowtowed and said, "Please do not be mad. It was my fault. Please forgive how ignorant I am." Seeing Fox Queen quivering beneath the altar, Han's son felt delighted. Fox Queen used to cause him so much trouble. Now Fox Queen's fate was in his hands. It made him feel incredibly good. It was a shame Han's son had let her into the temple to make a wish. That kind of offense was enough to cancel the wish transaction. Therefore, Han's son had no choice but to continue. "I can help you get back 9-spin destiny mirror, but you need to be my slave forever." Han's son was like a lion opening his mouth. He did not want to give her the 9-spin destiny mirror for 300 years of her lifespan. If Fox Queen did not agree to the terms and conditions, the wish would fail. Han Sen would no longer have to give her the 9-spin destiny mirror. If Fox Queen agreed, her life would forever be in Han Sen's hands. She would become a slave and forever be ruled by him. Giving her the 9-spin destiny mirror did not change much. Upon hearing this condition, Fox Queen looked terrible. Her body started to shake. The conditions he made were greater than she thought they would be. It was like taking her life. "Mister, can you do that for me because I am so poor?" Fox Queen pretended to be destitute as she kneeled. "You cannot talk in front of a god. If you don't want it, forget about it. Turn around and go home." Han Sen did not care about her feelings, so he spoke as harshly as he wanted to. "Please do not be mad." Fox Queen bowed again. She looked sincere, but her mind was thinking, "I just wanted to come and try this god of wealth that I have never heard of before. I did not expect he would compose conditions this gross. But that is good. If he makes a condition like that, he is not going to steal all the years of my lifespan. Perhaps I will not lose much of my lifespan. This is the end of the road. To be held by this annihilation god spirit is safer. If the extreme king wants to kill me, it will be even harder for them." Although she thought of things this way, in her mind, she was a bit annoyed. This is all because of that Han Senator. If it was not for him, I would not have gone to Destiny's Tower. He also took the 9-spin destiny mirror, which made me become an enemy of the extreme king. That Bai Wuchang keeps chasing me. He has forced me into this position, so now I have no choice. She continued to think. This time, the god of wealth will take the 9-spin destiny mirror. Han Sen will be doomed, which makes me feel a bit better. Thinking of all this, Fox Queen realized she did not have much of a choice in the matter. If she went to another annihilation god spirit, they might not have even allowed her to make a wish. She bowed and said, "I will do whatever you tell me to do." As Fox Queen said that, the sky god crown shone with a god light. Han Sen knew that the deal was made. He only had to give her the 9-spin destiny mirror, and 300 years of Fox Queen's lifespan would be his. Fox Queen! Fox Queen! I bet you never dreamed of this day. Han Sen was feeling very cocky. He did not give her the 9-spin destiny mirror yet. He coldly said, "You go home first. Come back to the God Hall in 3 days, and pick up the 9-spin destiny mirror." Fox Queen immediately said thank you, but she did not leave just yet. She changed her tone and said to Han Sen, "Mister, there is something I know. Perhaps it will help you get the 9-spin destiny mirror back. I do not know if I should tell you." Han Sen coldly asked, "Oh, why don't you indulge me?" Fox Queen was not able to see Han Sen's face, but he did not sound very interested. She quickly said, "The 9-spin destiny mirror is in that crystallizer Han Sen's hands. From what I know about him, he got the 9-spin destiny mirror from Destiny's Tower. He destroyed the god doll inside." "Really?" Han Sen feigned surprise. In his mind he coldly laughed. "Very good, Fox Queen. You are convincing a god spirit to trick me. I will remember this, and I will make you pay." Fox Queen looked at Han Sen, who now seemed interested. She quickly said, "That god doll was in the Extreme King for many years. It must have collected a great number of years. Han Sen broke the god doll, so he must have a lot of lifespan in him." Fox Queen stopped talking, but it was so obvious what she was doing. It was like she was saying, "Mr. God Spirit, look at Han Sen like he is a big slab of meat. You should go and dine on him. You know a lot about God spirits," Han Sen coldly said as he looked at Fox Queen. Fox Queen was shocked. She lowered her head and said, "I have just heard a thing or two. Okay, you go home. Come back and pick up the 9-spin destiny mirror in 3 days." Han Sen sent Fox Queen away, but then he was quite angry. "Women are the evilest. You better watch out, Fox Queen. I will make you cry for your mommy and daddy." Chapter 29. Moment God. After Fox Queen's departure, Han Sen did not think this was right. Why had Fox Queen appeared right then and there? She had not selected any other god spirit. She had just happened to choose him, who had only just appeared in his own god temple. To be able to do tricks in a god palace, it must be that god. Han Sen started to think it must be related to God, who was possessing Guwaner. No way, I cannot keep using this god temple. If it keeps opening, perhaps something bad might happen. Han Sen thought about this and put away his sky god crown. He left his god temple. After Han Sen put away the sky god crown, the god of wealth temple shut down. Because there was no god inside the temple, no one could go there and challenge it. What does that god want from me? In the god list's fight, the one in second place was only able to earn a destruction class god personality armament. Even if I was in first place and leveled up one more, I would just receive a disaster class god personality. Is it not too much to give an annihilation class god personality armament to someone? Han Sen was confused. God must have done all of that on purpose. Now that he thought about it, even that God would not have expected Golden Growler to give him the first seat. There was no way he would have expected that. Was that decision made immediately? Han Sen still did not think that was right. Han Sen was not able to come to a conclusion he liked, so he stopped wasting time. He looked at the sky full of god temples and scanned it for no world god's temple. He wanted to fight no world god first. When Han Sen discovered no world god temple, he noticed no world god's god temple was still shut down. He is not here. That depressed Han Senator, judging from the experience he had as a god spirit. God spirits only had 3 ways to shut down their god temple. Ordinarily, they were only allowed to shut down a god temple for a short period of time. That allotted time was the only time a god spirit could leave the god palaces. They were not able to be gone for a long time. Every time after using that permission to leave, it would be a long time before they were allowed to leave again. The other way was if the god spirit had been slain once. It did not matter if the god spirit was swapped. If the god spirit was willing, they could shut down the god temple for an entire month. Of course, they were not likely to give up that right. The longest time a temple could be shut down was for the duration of time a god spirit possessed a creature of the universe. If they left their god temple like that, their temple could pretty much be closed forever. No one was able to challenge them. One had to wait until the god spirit returned. Then, the god spirit's ability to be challenged would be re-enabled. Fox Queen entered the temple and made a wish. Every creature saw that. Although they did not know what happened after Fox Queen exited the temple, it gave people very strange feelings. Many creatures wanted to go to the god temples for the creation of wishes. They had all sorts of wishes to make. The god spirits would not mind those people coming to make their wishes, either unless it was for some special reason. Otherwise, not many god spirits would have killed the wishers. But that was in the future. Han Sen did not have time to care that much. After he went silent for a bit, he flew toward a god temple amid the god palaces. No world god was not there, so Han Sen selected another god spirit that was disaster class. He wanted to see how strong a disaster class god spirit was. Is that Dollar? It is him. The universe's god list first elite is challenging a god spirit. What god list first elite? Golden Growler gave that to him. Regardless, Dollar's power is very strong. I wonder what level of god spirit he will challenge. It will most likely be a destruction class one. After all, no creature dares to challenge a disaster class god spirit. No way. He is flying to a higher level of god palaces. Is he going to save Golden Growler? Stop making jokes. Han Godfather and those 2 true gods from Empty Mountain were beaten by Moment God with ease. Dollar would die by going there. It is hard for us to say. Dollar and Golden Growler's relationship is special. Golden Growler gave him the first place. It is only fair that he would try to save him, right? After a while, many creatures watched Han Sen fly toward a disaster god palace. Someone said, "There's no way he's going to challenge Moment God. That would be him having a death wish." Golden Growler really is blind. He gave him the godless seat. It is just like Godfather Han. While everyone was talking, Han Sen entered the radius of the god temple. He was on the god temple's plaza. It was a very old stone god temple. The god temple looked like a medieval church. The god temple had 2 floors. There was a big stone clock. The minute, hour, and second hands were ticking slowly. It was like a normal watch but very large. Moment God. Han Sen looked at the god's title on the god flag. He was shocked. Anyone knew that this moment God could be a time disaster god spirit. Han's son had come to challenge moment God because he wanted to see how things fared in xenogenic mode. He wanted to see if he could fight a disaster class god spirit, so he could ready himself to fight moment God in the future. They were both time element god spirits. If he was unable to fight a disaster class god spirit, he could not fight an annihilation class moment God. A sharp and squeaky voice came from the god temple's stone door. Heaven has roads we do not walk. Hell has no doors, and you come knocking. Do you have a death wish? With that sound, the stone door opened up. A shadow emerged from the god temple. Han's son, and the races of the universe's creatures, and people stared at the god spirit that was coming out from the god temple. This was the first time someone had sought to challenge a disaster class god spirit. It was a very eye-catching sight. When that shadow walked out of the stone temple's door, many creatures saw that it was a weird creature. It looked like a human, but its skin was a black carapace. It looked like a human bug. Its eyes were very weird. The eyes had no pupils. They were just white. Within the eye white, there was the illustration of a clock. It included the hands that told the time, and the numbers they went around. Han's son was not about to underestimate this foe. After all, he had never fought a disaster god spirit before. The god spirits he used to kill were all destruction class. He held the sky vine radish god lance, and gathered up the power on the tip of the lance. He used the Dongxian Sutra to the max suddenly. The whole universe was a complicated machine in Han Sen's eyes. Countless universes were spinning. BZD. A lance was thrust forward. It was like space was punctured by that lance. It went in front of moment God. Moment God coldly smiled. Its left eye was like a watch. The needles rotated quickly. The speed of Han Sen's lance was fast, but moment God was faster. It went left a little, and avoided the attack of the sky vine radish god lance. Han Sen's expression did not change. The lance was like heavy rain striking down, but moment God moved swiftly. It was like it could just move without thinking. Han Sen's heavy storm-like lance attack did not touch its body. Chapter 2981 Time is like a ruler. Blasphemy to a god spirit should result in death. Moment God coldly looked at Han Senator. The needles in his right eye were turning quickly. It was different from the ones in his left eye. The needles in his right eye were going counterclockwise. As the needles of his right eye spun, in other people's eyes, Han Sen's movements seemed to be slower. It looked like he was moving in slow motion. Moment God's speed wasn't slowing down. He was very fast. One was fast, and the other was slow. It created a clear contrast. Moment God teleported in front of Han Senator. His fingers were very sharp. He was scratching toward Han Sen's face. The fingernails were like the tips of a lance. They were going to pierce Han Sen's eyes. Moment God's face looked very interested as he laughed in an evil way. He slashed downward, but Han Sen's body disappeared in front of him. In the next moment, Han Sen's body appeared near Moment God's back. The Skyvine Radish God lance was thrusting into his opponent's neck. The tip of the lance was right next to him. That's a very powerful teleport skill, but it is futile against me. The needles in Moment God's eyes kept spinning in different directions. Han Sen's speed was constantly slowing down, while his opponent's speed grew faster. The tip of the lance almost touched his skin. Moment God established some distance between them. He turned around and threw a punch into Han Sen's belly. Han Sen was like an old man with slow reactions. He saw Moment God's punch, but he could do nothing to dodge. It was also too late for him to put the lance away. Moment God's fist was still too slow. Han Sen's body teleported to the other end of the Moment God Temple Plaza. The man and the god kept fighting. Moment God's power, which could control time, was incredibly weird. Han Sen's ability to teleport was shocking too. Neither of them was able to do anything to each other. Dollar is so strong. He can fight a disaster god spirit without reprieve. He keeps using teleportation skills to move around. Don't say that. Moment God has to be a time element god spirit. He has the power to make Dollar slow down in a web of time. That does not only make him slow down, but his powers and mind also slow down. If it was a normal person in this situation, even if he had a teleportation skill, it would be too late to use them. He would instantly be killed by Moment God. Dollar's thoughts traveled 10,000 miles per hour. They are not restricted by the time God's power. In the universe, not many people can practice teleportation skills to this level. It is almost as good as the very high with their God's wander ability. No matter how powerful his teleportation skills are, he cannot defeat Moment God. Han Sun had his time area to use, but it was his other persona that was making use of it. He was not able to use it as he was now. Plus, a time ghost beast soul's time area was weaker than Moment God's time god power. Even if he used it, it would not make a change in the current fight. Using time power before time element god spirits was like using a big knife against a Guan Yu. Han Sun did not plan on doing that, because Han Sun had the time area. He knew that breaking Moment God's time god area could only be accomplished through two different techniques. One required speed, and one required absolute power. Old Vulture used absolute speed to break Han Sun's time area. Han Sun did not have that kind of speed, so all he could do was use absolute power to break Moment God's god power. It does not matter with time or space, but the rules of the universe are the rules of the universe. They are governed by the universal cogwheels. If I can control the cogwheels of the universe, I can prohibit the universal cogwheels from moving. Even God powers will be unable to affect the spread. Han Sun teleported to dodge Moment God's attack. He kept using the Dongxian Sutra and pumped all the power into Dongxian aura that he could. He tried to use absolute power to control the spinning of the universal cogwheels. In Xenogenic mode, my power is better than the average true god. I still do not know if it is enough to suppress a disaster class god spirit. Han Sun kept using the Dongxian aura to give pressure to the time universal cogwheel. The time universal cogwheel could not be stopped completely, but the speed of its spin was slow. The effects on Han Sun weakened. The Xenogenic power cannot suppress disaster god spirits. Han Sun frowned. Time's delay had little effect on him now. Under the effect of the Dongxian aura, Moment God's own time boost was slowed down. It made his speed slow down. Adding this and taking away that, Han Sun turned active. He was not going to keep teleporting to fight Moment God. Dong! The Sky Vine Radish God Lance was able to hit Moment God's claws for the first time. The God power hit the lance's light. It triggered a scary explosion and shockwave. Han Sun flew away through space by a few thousand miles. Moment God's legs had two very deep footprints on the God Temple Plaza. He can affect my time God power. It is no wonder he is so cocky. He dares to challenge me. Moment God's eyes flashed. The needles in his eyes kept spinning. They looked scary and weird. He said, "If you think this can fight a god, you are wrong. I will let you know the difference between a mere creature and a god spirit." After that, Moment God's claws dug into his own eyes. There was one in the right and one in the left. Catcha! Seeing blood being spilled as the two sharp claws poked into his eyes, Moment God unplugged his eyeballs right out of their sockets. This was different from what Han Sun was expecting. Inside the sockets, God lights flickered. The eyeballs, which had been dug out, were not the only ones. Many eyes started to come out. One by one, eyes rolled out of the God light socket. Roar! When Moment God madly roared, all the eyeballs in his eyes were dug out. There were 12 of them. He put his hands together. He made a bracelet out of the 12 eyeballs. They went across his crossed hands. There were still streams of blood coming out of his eyes. Han Sun looked at the eyeball bracelet. All those eyeballs were like circular watches. All of the needless were jumping to an unspecified rhythm, but all the eyeballs were pointing to a different point in time. Han Sun looked closer and discovered that each watch was 1 hour later than the others. Time is like a ruler. One mark is one scar. Stupid low-life creature. How dare you insult a god spirit? Today, I will wipe you from the annals of history. I will let all the cheap creatures know that they cannot offend a god spirit. Moment God's hands were holding the bloody eyeball necklace. His eyes were still bleeding god blood as he spoke his words of madness. After Moment God crazily spoke, his fingers flicked the eyeballs. The necklace was instantly brighter. It covered the entirety of space. Chapter 2982 Time. Etching the whole of space in the area of the god temple was twisted. Nothing was visible with any ordinary clarity. This was what the deified elites could see. But even their vision started to become distorted. It was like a shadow in the water. When the water moved, the vision twisted. Moment God held his time bracelet. He mumbled words like a Buddha speaking for the dead. In that twisted parcel of space, Moment God's body was like a sky god covering the whole of the god temple's sky. Han Sun was like a tiny ant. Except a god's anger. Time etching. Moment God's god voice was loud. He raised the bracelet that was in his hands. The needless present in the 12 eyeballs was spinning madly. In one moment, Han Sun felt as if he could see the flow of time with his eyes. All the numbers in the 12 eyes fired out some weird, twisted lights. The light connected them in the 12 eyes. It was like a giant net covering the entire god temple's area. Han Sun did not have a space to avoid it. He could not find a place to be safe. 1G he saw the weird light cross together like a net. It was coming down. Han Sun pushed his Dongxian aura to the max. But he still could not stop the twisting lines of time that were descending. The time light's line landed on Han Sun's Dongxian armor. It was like a laser, and left some weird markings on it. It was like a symbol that represented time. It scrawled across the entire battle armor's surface. This is. Han Sun noticed his body did not get injured. Instead, his whole body was marked. The markings were releasing a weird sort of power. Han Sun wanted to raise his hands and see what had been etched into his armor and what it meant for him. He shockingly found out his arm was no longer listening to him. He was unable to move it. Why is this happening? Han Sun quickly discovered that it was not just his arm. His whole body was unable to move. He was not even able to cast a Geno art. Han Sun was feeling very strange. Although he was unable to move, he still felt his body existed. He was able to feel his body's presence flowing. Everything seemed to be normal. Whenever he wanted to do something, his hands, legs, and presence listened. This feeling was very weird. It was like a ghost crushing him. He felt everything but could not move. Moment God looked at Han Sun coldly. The god blood was still flowing from his eye sockets. He was holding the bracelet while he said, "Stop wasting your breath. Your time is already being erased. There is nothing you can do about it now. You can only accept God's punishment. That is the result of your blasphemy toward a god spirit." What Moment God said was very simple. Han Sun understood what he meant, because he had practiced a time area Geno art. He knew something about time element powers. Moment God had just reminded him a little, so Han Sun knew what the time etching power could do. Han Sun's body was not paralyzed, because the time etching wiped off his body for a while. It was hard to explain. Normally, when Han Sun wanted to do something, once his mind set it up, his body reacted. The time etching marks erased his body for a while. When Han Sun had the idea to move, the time would be empty afterward. He needed to wait until the empty time was over. Then, Han Sun's body would have the needed reaction. It was like playing a video game, and the internet suddenly lagged. The time in between was wiped away. When the internet came back, the body reacted. Han Sun did not know how long that empty time was. After seeing Moment God's very relaxed face, he knew it would not be anytime soon. Moment God's hands were clutching the bloody eyeball necklace. He walked toward Han Senator. The sockets that had god blood coldly looked at Han Senator. They were going to touch Han Sen's face. He licked his lips and smiled evilly. Moment God then said, "I thought you were so good at fighting. I am standing right here. Why are you not moving?" Han Sun wanted to slap him 1,000 or 10,000 times. But it was a shame his body would not listen. The time etching erased the time he had in his body. He was not even able to speak. "Don't say I did not give you a chance. If you don't move now, you will receive God's punishment." Moment God weirdly laughed. He reached out his hand and moved forward to grab Han Sen's head. "It looks like I will have to use this." Han Sun gently closed his eyes. He was going to use Super God Spirit mode. At this time, the Super God Spirit body was not going to be affected. With Wanner's effect, his Super God Spirit mode would not last long, but it was enough. Moment God was very close to him. His awareness was very low. He only needed one moment to take Moment God's life. Moment God's face had a bloody smile. The claw, which looked like a very sharp talon, drew closer to Han Sen's head. Clearly, he did not want Han Sen to die a swift death. Do you want to live? Beg before me. Perhaps I will show you a speck of mercy and let you, a low-life, cheap creature, continue your pitiful existence. Moment God weirdly laughed as he spoke. The creatures watching the fight saw Dollar being suppressed by Moment God. He was unable to move, so it was needless to say they were shocked. Although Dollar was not the real #1 fighter on the God list, his real power put him in the top 10. Yet here he was getting suppressed by a disaster-class God spirit, by such an obscene amount. How was anyone supposed to not feel shocked? This was just a disaster-class God spirit. Above disaster class were annihilation and reboot. There were 2 higher classes of God spirits. They must have been absolutely terrifying. We are just creatures of the universe. We cannot fight God spirits. Only by becoming God spirits ourselves can we shed the trappings of our mortal body. That way, we can become superior life forms. Many creatures thought that. Han Sen was just watching Moment God. Although he was not able to speak, even if he could, he would not beg for his life before Moment God. That equaled making a wish to Moment God. Han Sen had briefly been a God spirit. He knew making a wish like that would cost him a fortune. Han Sen's eyes made Moment God feel so annoyed. They made him so angry that he coldly said, "If you want to die, I will do as you ask." After that, the claws sped up. They came slashing toward Han Sen's head. Han Sen was unable to fight back. He watched the claws land on his head. "Stop it!" A voice sounded from beyond the God Temple. The voice was so slow that no one noticed a body flying into the God Temple's plaza. Because of that moment, Han Sen's body shone brightly. He was like a volcano erupting. His body armor was covered by the time-etching marks. It turned into a bright white color. Chapter 2983 Killing a God Spirit. Moment God did not believe Han Sen could break the time etching's control. He was too close to Han Senator. He wanted to use time power to stop Han Sen, but it was no longer working. In that burning light, Han Sen was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. It had cold light that pierced into Moment God's chest. So what if you can hit me? The body of a disaster-class God spirit cannot be harmed by you. Before Moment God finished his sentence, his face changed. He looked down and saw Han Sen's Sky Vine Radish God Lance had perforated his chest. In that cold light, Moment God's disaster-class God spirit body was pierced. His body started to collapse from the point of that wound on his body. No, this is impossible. Moment God thought it was unbelievable and screamed. His entire body turned into dust and exploded. It looks like my Super God Spirit mode has become much stronger as I leveled up. Han Sen was a little surprised by its effectiveness. He had not expected to kill Moment God in the way he had with one hit. He was hoping to just heavily damage Moment God. The moment he used Super God Spirit mode, he chose his strongest attack, Super Spank. The effect far exceeded Han Sen's expectations. With one hit, he blew up the disaster-class God Spirit Moment God. Although Moment God had been very careless, the main reason for defeating him was because Han Sen's Super God Spirit mode was just too strong. Han Sen measured it a little. Even when he used the Kirin's Holy Spirit, it was no match for the power of Super God Spirit mode. But Wanna was there. His Super God Spirit only let out a strike, and that was that. It quickly dissolved. Han Sen returned to normal. It had all happened very fast. The universe's audience saw Han Sen's body explode with white light. In the next second, he was thrusting his weapon through Moment God. The incredibly strong disaster-class Moment God had not been able to resist. He screamed and died. The universe went silent. After a while, all the creatures started reacting. Everyone was erupting with chatter. It is no wonder Dollar is the strongest in the universe. One lance strike was enough to blow up a disaster-class God spirit. That is invincible. Ah, you did not say that before. You said Han Sen's God list #1 was given by Golden Growler. That is not what I meant. Golden Growler gave out #1 because he knew he would lose. Otherwise, why would he give it to him? It just means Dollar is too strong. Dollar is too strong. He must be the first creature in the universe to slay a disaster-class god spirit. Everybody was talking about it. The green-haired beast from Empty Mountain gnashed its teeth and madly said, "Dollar has that power. Yet he did not go to save Little Mountain Leader. If he cooperates with Han's son, perhaps they can save Little Mountain from that moment god temple." The Ghana woman coldly grunted, "Wolf hearts and dog lungs." They had no idea Han's son and Dollar could not cooperate. No one suspected Han's son and Dollar were the same person, because they were of a different race. It was like a cat and a dog. No one would have believed they were the same. In the Geno Hall, God looked at Han's son standing in front of the god temple. He frowned and thought, "This power. It is going to reach that level. His body really is different." In Blood Legion, Human King squinted his eyes and looked at Han Senator. His eyes looked weird. On the streets of a small planet, a fortune-telling old man opened his eyes wide. He looked at Han's son in front of the god temple. He was full of confusion and said, "Weird. Not a god spirit. How could he use a power that was like a god spirit?" Sky Palace leader frowned and receded into his thoughts. "Dollar, what race is he? Why would he possess that power?" In front of Moment God Temple, Moment God turned into dust, but did not fade away like other god spirits. The god temple's god altar did not start. The god flag that had Moment God's title suddenly turned white. The god temple started to look dim. It turned into an empty temple with no god spirit. What is going on? How has God spirit not been revived? Everyone was shocked. They did not know what was happening. The god spirit that claimed to be immortal did not respawn. Han's son was confused too. After he hunted Moment God, he only received one announcement. Disaster class god spirit hunted, Moment God. The announcement was just that one simple line. No god spirit or god spirit gene was received. It was different from what Han's son had slain before. What is going on? Is it because of Super Spank? Or is it a problem with my Super God Spirit mode? Hansen suddenly had many ideas running through his mind. On the other side of the God Temple's plaza, a body stood where it was. It was looking at Han's son with much shock. After a moment, that shocked face suddenly had a weird smile and said, "Dollar really is legendary. One lance enabled you to slay a god. In the universe, you really must be number one." Bai King. Han's son turned around. He felt weird. He knew Bai King was already there, but he did not know why Bai King had come there now. Obviously, Bai King had arrived there in the hopes of saving him. If he had not used his Super God Spirit mode, Bai King would have come there to take Moment God's strike on his behalf. Han's son did not think his relationship with Bai King was that good. So far, everything Bai King did confused Han. Senator Han's son looked at Bai King and asked, "Why? This place is not appropriate for us to talk. Let us find another place to talk." After speaking, Bai King left the god palaces. Han's son followed Bai King and flew away from the god palaces. He really wanted to know what Bai King's motive was for treating him the way he was all the time. Han's son and Bai King disappeared after leaving the god temple, because the god palaces showed up again. It was a place everyone could see from across the universe. Every race was able to witness what happened near the god palaces. After leaving the god palaces, unless they were close to Han's son, no one could see them. This act made the universe blow up. Every creature was shocked and confused. Aren't god spirits immortal? What is going on? How was Dollar able to murder a god spirit? What just happened? Why didn't Moment God revive inside the god temple? Oh my god! Dollar can really slay god spirits. It looks like god spirits are not invincible. They claim to be immortal, but he was killed by Dollar. The whole universe was talking about Han's son killing a god spirit. The invincible image of god spirits seemed to have crumbled a bit. Han's son and Bai King had just left the god palaces. They were looking for a quiet place to talk when the god palace's god temple suddenly shone very bright. Chapter 2984 God Spirit descends in the god palaces. The god temple under the Geno Hall began to release a 3,000-foot-long light. It was like a sun exploding. Previously the life force was like a sea. The god temple that released the scary god light was suddenly dead. The shining gold god temple was dim. It was like some dust had been scattered. What's going on? Han Sen and Bai King were shocked. That god temple was very high. It was only one step below the Geno Hall. It was an annihilation-class god temple. Looking at the god temple now, it seemed as if it had been beaten and shut down. In the universe, who can beat an annihilation-class god spirit and force it to shut down? While Han Sen pondered this, he saw the dusty god temple door open. A shadow emerged from beyond. The creatures of the universe did not see whose body it was. All they saw was a flash and the body disappear. It looked like it left the god palace. Oh no! Bai King's face changed. Han Sen looked at Bai King and asked, "Oh no, what?" "That annihilation-class god spirit possessed a body and descended," Bai King said. "It entered the universe. We should run." He wanted to run off immediately. Before his body moved, he saw a portion of space move nearby. A body appeared. It was the same body that emerged from the god palace. The body was not very tall. It just about a foot taller than Han Sen, but the power it wielded was strong. He was wearing black armor. His shoulders had a black hammer that was the size of a barrel. His god eyes were coldly looking at Han Sr. "You killed a god. You should be killed." The god spirit did not say much. He only said a few words before starting to wave his big hammer around in the air. Han Sen understood that the annihilation god spirit had possessed a body to descend and kill him, since he had killed a god. Han Sen did not say anything. He used galaxy teleportation because he wanted to leave. He wanted to teleport a few systems away. Han Sen teleported away. While he was teleporting, he was inside a space tunnel. He heard some explosion sounds next to his ear. He then felt his body get hit. He was knocked out of the space tunnel. Han Sen's eyes flashed. He still saw himself in space. That god spirit's strong body was not very far away. He was holding that big scary hammer. The space around was cracking like glass. The space cracks were like a spiderweb. The power of the god spirit's hammer was breaking the entire system. It created many broken layers in space. Even using galaxy teleportation was impossible now. It could no longer be used. Han Sen knew it was time to fight for his life. Killing a disaster-class god spirit had been incredibly difficult. It forced him to use his super god spirit mode. Now an annihilation-class god spirit was using a body to descend. The power of that hammer far exceeded Han Sen's power. Han Sen's full power attack was unable to reach the magnitude of his new nemesis. He tightly held onto the sky vine radish god lance. Han Sen pushed his own power to the maximum. Bai King, who was nearby, frowned. He looked at the god spirit and said, "I do not think we offended you. Why have you descended to come and fight us?" The god spirit was holding his big hammer as he coldly responded, "Killing a god spirit is a crime." After that, another hammer came from the sky. He and Han Sen were a galaxy apart. But that hammer's power was not coming to strike Han Senator. It was striking the space that was in front of him. After the hammer came down, the whole of space shook. Han Sen felt as if his body had been broken by space. Blurg. Han Sen coughed up some boiling blood. He tried his hardest to fight back, but his xenogenic battle body could still not withstand that scary shaking power. Many of his organs were severely injured, and his god bones had many fractures. It was like they were going to break any second. Bai King was attacked too. His body was shining with light. There was a shield of light covering his body that looked like a god spirit. It blocked that scary shaking power. The god spirit hammered down. This time, the hammer's strike was greater than the last one. Han Sen was in too much shock. He was forced to gather up power and ready himself for another battle. Boom! Bai King's body appeared in front of Han Senator. That weird light was following Bai King's movement. It created a defensive bulwark and blocked the god spirit's heavy hammer attack. Spirit of God! Han Sen was shocked. When he looked closer, it was not really a god spirit. The light of Bai King's body was like a god and a demon. It was like an ancient battle spirit. It had 3 heads and 6 arms. 6 of the hands were wielding different weapons. There was a sword, knife, shield, jian ring, and mirror. There were 4 types of weapons, and they were releasing a weird and mysterious light. The one that blocked the god spirit's hammer attack was the shield. Han Sen looked at the light. It looked just like a beast's soul and God's spirit, but it was different. He was thinking of the xenogeneics that had no souls in the Nine Defense Palace. He thought, are these spirit weapons made from the xenogeneic spirits? Bai King stared at the God spirit and slowly said to Han Sun, you leave now. Why are you saving me? Han Sun did not understand why Bai King was risking a fight against this God spirit to save him. In any way, his relationship with Bai King was not a positive one. If Bai King had come to save him, because he was a student, Han Sun believed that was hogwash. When Bai King's son died, he had not taken it that seriously. And he was just a student. Bai King stared at the God spirit as he said, I don't have time to talk about that. I cannot last long. Hurry up and leave. Get as far away from here as you possibly can. No one is leaving. You are all going to die today. The god's voice was like thunder. It was extremely loud. After those words were spoken, the god spirit's big hammer was coming down. The hammer carried an incredibly scary breaking power. It was suddenly in front of Bai King. The shaking of space was very scary. Now that the hammer was coming, it was so strong that even Han Sun, who was behind Bai King, felt as if he could not beat it. Bai King stared at that scary god hammer. He did not fall back. His body was like a demon god's shadow that was silently roaring in the sky. He was holding the shield while running toward the god hammer. Boom! A scary shockwave suddenly destroyed the space around. Han Sun used all of his power to fight the shockwave, but his Dongxian armor was starting to reveal cracks. Run! Bai King's voice was heard again. Han Sun gnashed his teeth. He turned around and headed for the broken space that looked like a spiderweb. Don't run! The god spirit coldly shouted. He was holding a big hammer. He waved it at Han Sun, but Bai King stopped him. If there is someone I want to save, not even a god can get in the way. Bai King's voice was clear and cold. Han Sun felt there was some scary space-shaking force behind him. Han Sun used the borrow strength skill and the shockwave to propel his sprint through the broken space. Chapter 2985 Kill Sky. God teleporting so fast through broken space made the scary power from behind become weaker. When Han Sun exited the broken space area, he did not see that annihilation god spirit follow. Bai King must have halted its pursuit. The spirit weapon the Extreme King made was stronger than the Holy Kirin. That is surprising. Han Sun was shocked. Thinking of how that thing came from the Extreme King Alpha, it must have been handed down generation after generation. It was unknown how many xenogeneic spirits had been built into it. It was not impossible for it to possess such wild strength. It was enough to fight an annihilation class god spirit. Han Sun still thought it was too ridiculous. Why does Bai King treat me the way he does? Han Sun thought. That was what he wondered about the most. In the past, Bai King was in a rush to save him in the god temple. He was so surprised. Now, Bai King was willing to fight an annihilation class god spirit to save him. That made no sense. No matter what, let me get out of here first. Han Sun was silent. He did not dare return to Space Garden yet. He teleported to the outskirts of the Big Barren systems. He was afraid the god spirit would trace his retreat into Space Garden. If it followed him there, he feared things would not go so well. Going to the outskirts, Han Sun went into the Big Barren systems again. He wanted to use the hidden power inside the Big Barren systems, so that the god spirit would not find out where he was. He would then be able to escape with Han Sun's identity. Han Sun had only just entered the Big Barren systems when he heard some thunder rage above his head. The space around cracked. It resulted in it all cracking like a spiderweb. That god spirit tore through space and managed to catch up. I thought that after a god spirit was possessed, their powers were restricted by their bodies. I thought they could only be true god class at best. This god spirit's power is way better than a true god class. Han Sun frowned. Han Sun looked at the god spirit and asked, where is Bai King? I kill Sky God wanna kill. Not even God can stop me. And he is just a creature in the universe. Kill Sky God was holding his god hammer. He was floating in space and coldly looking at Han Sun as he spoke. Han Sun heard Kill Sky God's tone of voice and felt a flush of relief. It seemed as if Bai King had not been killed by him. Kill Sky God raised the hammer in his hand. In a voice laden with disdain he said, "The slayers of gods should be killed. No one can save you now." Kill Sky God used one hand to hold the giant hammer and swung it down. It was like the whole of space had become some brittle glass beneath the hammer. It just broke with the strike of the hammer. Han Sen's eyes froze. His body was suddenly full of light. He entered Super God Spirit mode again. The shattering space had not left any marks on him. The Skyvine Radish God Lance brought some cold light forward. It was thrust toward Kill Sky God. With a look of disdain, Kill Sky God raised his hammer to attack the Skyvine Radish God Lance. Han Sen flashed away holding the lance. He went behind Kill Sky God and thrust it through the back of his head. Super Spank. Han Sen was still in Super God Spirit mode. He used Super Spank's power at max capacity. Kasha. The tip of the lance broke behind Kill Sky God. It sounded like metal shattering. It was like some metal had been sucked into a blender. God light and sparks were everywhere. The tip of the Skyvine Radish God Lance only went in about 5 inches before not being able to proceed further. Super Spank's power was not enough to completely destroy Kill Sky God's substance chain. It only shattered a few of the substance chains that were outside. Kill Sky God waved his big hammer as Han Sen had to pull his lance back. He used galaxy teleportation to get away from that system. Under the Super God Spirit mode, the broken space layers were unable to prevent him from using galaxy teleportation. But Wana was still inside his Destiny's Tower. She was burning with gold light. She cancelled Han Sen's Super God Spirit mode. Han Sen gnashed his teeth and held on, but he could not keep it up. His body fell out of Super God Spirit mode, forcing him out of galaxy teleportation. Although he left Kill Sky God's broken space, he was still inside the Big Baron systems. He had not gone too far. Without Super God Spirit mode, galaxy teleportation could not be used in the Big Baron systems because they had magnetic storms and space vortexes. Han Sen tried his best to get to the Holy Palace. There the darkness power would at least affect the God Spirit. The God Spirit would not dare venture near that place. He had the Holy Kirin Spirit, which restricted the darkness from damaging him while he was in there. That was the best place for Han Sen to use as a battleground. Han Sen had not been flying for long when the sound of Kill Sky God's big hammer broke space again. The spiderweb-like cracks in space reappeared and covered the sky to trap Han Sr. Wanner. It is not that I do not want to take care of you. It is just because this is a critical moment. I need to live for the future. Han Sen raised his hand and Destiny's Tower appeared in it. Han Sen tossed it out. Seeing the Destiny's Tower go further and further, Han Sen felt Super God Spirit body could be used with his body again. Wanner's effects on him were diminishing. Destiny's Tower? Impossible. You are not a God Spirit. How can you have Destiny's Tower? Kill Sky God saw Han Sen throw Destiny's Tower away. He was shocked. Seeing it twice, Kill Sky God saw something amiss. He looked at Destiny's Tower and said, "No, this is not Destiny's Tower. It is just a copy of Destiny's Tower. I think I have seen this copy someplace else. I know it now. Back then, Sacred Leader wanted to create Destiny's Tower. It did not break. It is still here. They should really die." Kill Sky God's face looked more murderous. He kept clutching his giant hammer, but he did not attack. A scary power was gathering up in the big hammer. There were very old and mysterious spells on each side of the hammer. Han Sen's body still had Super God Spirit mode, but he was still worried. From inside Destiny's Tower, something was thrown away. Wanner's body shone with a golden light. It looked crazy as she entered blonde mode. It was just like Han Senator, she adopted a strange status. Her body kept rapidly increasing. It was still different from Han Senator. His Super God Spirit mode was not able to harm him. He just had to get out before it ended. Wanner was different. Her blonde mode cost her significant life every second. If she was blonde for too long, there was a chance her life force would end with it. The scariest thing was that after she turned into blonde mode, she would not recognize anyone. She would become like the raging demon lady. There was a chance that she would emerge from Destiny's Tower, not knowing who was a friend and who was a foe. Whatever you are, just go to hell. The symbols on Kill Sky God's hammer were like suns. The weapon was striking towards space. The god symbol that was hanging in space suddenly branded space with a god symbol. In the next second, the symbol shattered. As the symbol shattered, everything inside the symbol turned to dust. It did not matter if it was a planet or sun. Although it did not explode, it released energy. In just a second it had become a substance. Chapter 2986. Wana woke up. Han's son was in super god spirit mode. That scary power went through his semi-transparent body and did not do anything to him. Han's son was holding the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. He teleported in front of Kill Sky God and struck his head again. He had to act very quickly since Wana would not last long. Dong. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance carried the power of Super Spank and struck Kill Sky God's neck. The tip of the lance plunged into his muscles and dug in a few inches before it was unable to go any further. Han's son had selected a location that had no armor for protection. If he struck the armor, the result would have likely been unfavorable. Kill Sky God's eyes flickered with god light, but he could not dodge Han's son's strike. The god hammer in his hand kept on swinging. Against the super god spirit body it was useless. Han's son's Sky Vine Radish God Lance kept on attacking. It hit the same wound that had already been inflicted upon Kill Sky God. He wanted to continuously strike the same spot and sever his neck. Han's son quickly discovered that the speed of his wound ripping was not as fast as Kill Sky God's wound healing. His repeated attacks did not accomplish much. Before the second lance reached that spot, Kill Sky God's wound released some god light and was almost healed. My power really isn't enough to kill an annihilation class god spirit. Han's son frowned. He was in a bit of a rush. Destiny's Tower Wana was getting worse. She was almost going to wake up. The only thing that made Han's son happy was the fact that Destiny's Tower was being shaken by Kill Sky God's scary power and wasn't breaking. It did not even get damaged. It was just the power that made it keep bouncing around everywhere. It was moving further away from the battleground. Moaning sounds were heard from someplace within the tower. It sounded as if it was going to crack any second. It was uncertain how long it would last. If I had not borrowed a body and pushed my power to the max by using the strongest god skill, you would have been killed by now already. Kill Sky God looked at Han's son coldly. The big hammer in his hand did not keep attacking. He allowed Han's son's Sky Vine Radish God Lance to keep striking him, but he was still unable to inflict deadly, fatal wounds on him. Even if I cannot make use of all my power, you cannot damage my god spirit body. Let's see how long you can keep it up. Once your power has been exhausted, it will be time for me to kill you. Kill Sky God's voice was so cold that it made one feel a chill deep in their bones. Han's son did not know how long his super god spirit mode will last. This was the first time he had used super god spirit mode as a true god. For now, he did not feel uncomfortable or anything. It was similar to Wana not disturbing him. Super God Spirit mode should have lasted a long time. If Han's son wanted to leave, Kill Sky God could not stop him. If he left now, Wana would be done for. If he brought Wana with him, the Super God Spirit mode would be gone. That would have made it impossible to flee. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Han's son would not give up Wana. Besides the fact that he had been taking Wana with him for very long. Even if it was a dog, he would feel emotion toward it. Plus, there were many secrets regarding Wana that he had yet learned. Han's son had also enjoyed 3 drinks with Qin Xiu, and promised him he would take care of Wana. He could not just back out now. With things becoming like this, I cannot care too much. I will have to use the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit to get out of this. Han's son had no other choice. Han's son knew Kill Sky God's real power was not as invincible as he was making it out to be. When his body landed, he did not have an absolute suppress power. Otherwise, Sky Vine Radish God Lance would not have hurt him. His god skills made his body stronger than a true god class elite. Even with a buff off a god skill, he would have been unable to destroy his body with the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. If he had a buff from the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit, there was a chance of success. If he used the Holy Kirin's Holy Spirit now, he would expose the fact that Dollar was Han's senator. Fortunately, No one knew Han Sen was human. Even if he exposed himself, the god spirits would not come after him for a while. As for the future, Han Sen would just have to wait and see how it all shook out. Catcha! While Han Sen prepared to summon the Kirin's holy spirit to possess the sky vine radish god Lance, he suddenly heard something crack open far away in space. In the space around, Han Sen and Kill Sky God's power broke everything into dust. There was nothing left to break. Han Sen heard that sound. He thought it was terrible. He turned around and saw Destiny's tower display a crack. It had probably endured too many hits. Before Han Sen reacted, a gold, holy light came out from the crack. There was suddenly a blonde lady rising from the crack. Her blonde hair was waving as much as her clothes were. Wanner was sleeping inside Destiny's tower. Now Wanner had become the blonde-haired lady. Her whole body released a weird blonde light that made her body look like a dream. It did not look real. Wanner looked like Han Sen's super god spirit mode. But it was a bit different. Wanner's eyes were open. Clearly, she had gotten rid of her sleeping mode. But her gold eyes still had no focus. She was like a zombie. Wanner. Impossible. How are you still alive? You cannot still be alive. When Kill Sky God saw the blonde Wanner, his face changed. It was like he had just laid eyes on a ghost. Even earlier, when Han Sen hit him, he did not have this expression. He still exhibited the pride of a god spirit. After seeing Wanner for a brief moment, he was freaking out. Han Sen thought it was strange how he had just lost it like this. Kill Sky God recognized Wanner, which did not make Han Sen feel weird. There was an 80% to 90% chance that Kill Sky God was one of the god spirits that descended way back when. It was not a surprise for him to have seen Wanner with the rest of Sacred. Seeing his face, he seemed absolutely terrified of Wanner. That made Han Sen feel like it was unbelievable. It all happened in a moment. Wanner came out of Destiny's tower. Her unfocused eyes fell on Han Sen, which made him feel a chill. Cha! Wanner's body suddenly went blurry in front of Han Senator with Han Sen's vision. He was not able to see where she moved. Subconsciously, Han Sen fell back. He noticed that Wanner was not going after him. That pretty and soft body of hers went before Kill Sky God. She raised her right arm without any emotion. Her hand was like a knife slashing down from up high. The blonde hair and gold clothes were waving as she struck. Kill Sky God's face looked shocked. His hands were holding a giant hammer. He swung it at Wanner as he fell back. Wanner's hand was full of a golden flame. Han Sen was hesitating because, unlike ordinary creatures, he knew the god personality was god spirit genes. Han Sen knew that due to the announcements. Although Han Sen was not able to absorb god spirit genes, he always believed if he was able to absorb other genes, there was no way he could absorb god spirit genes. Perhaps he had just not yet found a way to absorb the god spirit genes. It was like before in the sanctuaries, when he received super genes. At first, people were not able to absorb them. God spirit genes might have been similar to that. He was unsure whether or not putting god personalities in god personality armaments could be absorbed. That Kill Sky God is very powerful. He just descended and was almost invincible. In the god temple, he must be even scarier. Ordinarily, I would want to kill him and Moment God, both of whom are in the same class. As I am right now, the chances of me doing that are pretty slim. If I have Kill Sky God's god personality armament, my chances will be much higher. I should go swap it. Han Sen made a decision. He then thought, but I do not know what type of god personality armament Kill Sky God's god personality armament is. I hope it is armor, so I can block Moment God's attacks. There is no need for me to end up dead because of her. In Han Sen's heart, he knew that Kill Sky God's god personality armament had a low chance of providing him with armor. That arm bone would probably not have ended up looking like armor. No matter what it was, having an Annihilation class god personality armament should have helped him a tremendous amount. Han Sen collected the arm bone and figured out which direction he needed to go. He kept going deep into the Big Baron systems. Since he was already there, he figured he might as well check out the Holy Hall. He wanted to see if Little Flower and Old Cat were back yet. With the Holy Spirit, The darkness did not cause Han Sen much trouble or danger. He traveled back to the Holy Palace. He arrived there safely. He was back to being Han Sen now. He reached the Holy Palace. When Han Sen used the long, bright lantern's light and saw the ruins of the Holy Palace, he was shocked. The Holy Palace had been broken when Han Sen was there. Now, the Holy Palace's ruins were dyed black in dry blood. Red Ghost, the eyeless beast, and Old Vulture's giant bodies were lying across the ruins. The wounds on their bodies were solid. Their life forces were gone. The eyeless big beast's body was split in half. Red Ghost had been decapitated, and Old Vulture's feathers had all been plucked. There was a shadow standing on top of the ruin. Someone was holding Auntie May by the neck. He lifted her up in the air. Auntie May had no strength to struggle. Her hands clutched the other hands. But she could not get away. Mr. Auntie May saw Han Sen enter the radius of the bright long lantern. She had been hopeless, but now she had a bit of hope. The young man coldly said, "That is because Qin Xiu is dead. He does not have a chance to care about revenge." Really? Han Sen clutched his knife. His body entered the mind of a chess game. His whole body blended into the broken universe. His eyes were like darkness as they peered at the young man. "You would not understand. You are just an ignorant poor worm that was used by Qin Xiu." The young man seemed to think of something. The murderous look appeared even harsher. He laughed. "I am afraid you have no idea what Qin Xiu was like. You are still dreaming that you can replace him to become the new sacred leader. I can tell you that is impossible. It does not matter if it is you or your son who practices holy body. You are all just chess pieces. Qin Xiu would do anything to get what he wants. Your life in his eyes is worse than just one of his sister's hairs. After being used, you will be thrown away like trash." Han Sen winked and said, "It sounds like Qin Xiu did something bad to you." The young man's face suddenly looked very contorted. It even looked twisted. He gnashed his teeth and smiled. "It was nothing. I was just like you. I was made a chess piece. I was a test subject. But I am different from you. You are all chess pieces. You are just lab rats. You cannot change your fate all the way to the grave. But I am different. I escaped the fate of being a chess piece. I became a player and defeated Qin Xiu. I am now scrubbing away Qin Xiu's last hope. He will never come back. Even in hell, all he can do is cry without hope." While the young man spoke, his teeth chomped hard. He suddenly laughed very hard. What was Qin Xiu's last hope? The Holy Spirit. Han Sen looked at the cause karma knife that was burning with Holy Spirit power. The young man looked at him with disdain. "That half-broken product is not Qin Xiu's hope. I want the gene prototype. Qin Xiu must have found a way to give you, or your son, the gene prototype. He died, so he had no choice. I just need to kill you both, and Qin Xiu will become a loser." Han Sen pretended he had never heard of it before. He looked shocked and asked, "Gene reason? What is that?" The young man was already 15 feet away from Han Senator. He had not stopped his advance. He walked toward Han Sen saying, "Very funny. You are Qin Xiu's chess piece, yet you do not even know what a gene prototype is. If we have the same problem, can you explain it?" Han Sen did not move as he spoke. "Shut up," the young man shouted. "I am a replacement that Qin Xiu created, and one he put a lot of effort into. Who are you? You are not like me." His body sped up like a ghost in front of Han Senator. Han Sen suddenly saw the young man's hand move. He felt the whole of space flip as he faced off against the young. Time slowed down, which made Han Sen slow. "Today I will let you know what a real holy body is. I will show you what is better than Qin Xiu." The young man let out an evil laugh as he grabbed Han Sen's neck. His body was like a crystal. One was able to see the blue blood coursing through his body. The blue blood power and God's spirit mixed together made his presence very strange. It was like he was a human but not a human. It was like he was a god but not a god. If you are so good, why did not rule the universe after Qin Xiu was killed? Han Sen deliberately looked at him with disdain. That is Qin Xiu's fault. the young man crazily said. If he had given me the gene prototype, I would have ruled the world. Those from Sacred and the god spirits would be crying before my feet. Han Sen thought the young man was very stable and perhaps end up leaking a secret or two. He quickly asked, so what is the gene prototype? It is Qin Xiu's fault. The young man crazily spoke. His eyes were full of energy. He raised his head and roared to the sky. His scary power was like a volcano erupting. The body only had blue blood. In a moment, the blue blood seemed like it was burning. It made the whole body a transparent blue. The flames on the body were blue too. Han Sen frowned. He was a little bit worried. He was afraid Little Flower might turn out like this young man. He had used all the power he had in the alliance to search for Little Flower inside the sanctuaries, but there had yet to be any news of him. That made him very worried. Qin Xiu, what are you doing? Han Sen thought Qin Xiu was scarier than these god spirits. At least god spirits had their rules and principles to follow. Qin Xiu had just done what he pleased. He had not concerned himself with the consequences of his actions. No one was able to stop him. He had no moral compass. To be without rules was a very scary thing. And Qin Xiu was the scariest demon in the deep abyss of not having any rules. Killing god spirits, using gene technology to mix races. Even the holy beasts he grew had their horns taken and souls claimed. The genes were used to replicate people. He went against nature. Qin Xiu had done many scary things. It was much scarier than what a god spirit did. The young man, who looked like a blue crystal god spirit, stared at Han Sr. Anything related to Qin Xiu should die. He slowly spoke each word. When he was done, he reached out his hand and continued looking at Han Senator. Suddenly, the blue light was released. It twisted all of space. Han Sen felt like his body was going left and right in the time and space power. Somehow, he was in front of the young man. The young man's hand grabbed him by the neck. Die! The young man's face looked murderous and full of rage. His hand was full of power. The blue light was spilling. He was going to break Han Sen's neck. Chapter 2990 Love Killing Pigs Pang. Han Sen's body was like a sponge being squeezed by the young man's hand. Suddenly, another version of his body appeared behind the young man. A weird power movement was coming out of Han Sen's fingertips. It tapped the back of the young man's head. The young man coldly laughed. If it was 4 holy spirits combined in one, perhaps it would work against me a little. With just the Kirin's holy spirit, you cannot damage my god spirit holy body at all. The young man's expression quickly changed. He noticed that Han Sen had not used the holy Kirin's power. He had just been tapped on the back of the head. After that hit, Han Sen was sent flying 1,000 miles. The young man turned around. He coldly looked at Han Sen and said, I am better than Qin Xiu. I am the true immortal god spirit holy body. Your power does nothing to me. Han Sen's finger had not even hurt his scalp. Han Sen remained silent. He quietly looked at the young man. Stop wasting time. After I kill you, I will reunite you with your son in the pits of hell. I will make sure you don't end up too lonely there. The young man raised a hand. He wanted to combine the power of his holy body and the god spirit power. When he raised his arm, the young man's eyes looked smaller. He saw that his finger was uncontrollably shaking. It was steadily shaking faster. It was like his finger was playing piano in the air. It was not just his hands. The young man quickly discovered that his entire body was shaking. His muscles were twisting, and his blood vessels were jumping. He was shaking more than a person with Parkinson's disease. His body was powerfully shaking, but the young man could not feel anything wrong. It was like the body that was shaking was not his. The young man brought his hands together, but he could not stop from shaking. He screamed at Han Sr. What did you do to me? Nothing. I just don't like trouble. Fighting powerful creatures can be tiring, so that is why I prefer turning powerful creatures into pigs. Then, I kill them as they squeal. It is easier that way. Han Sen looked at the young man calmly. He lifted his cause karma knife. The holy flame on the knife was wildly shaking. What are you? How dare you talk like that directly in front of me? Die already. The young man flashed a blue light. He was going to grab Han's senator just as he moved. His bones and flesh appeared to recede. The blue god light was fading away. The crystal god body was suddenly smaller. He now had a common body. How is that? Impossible. My god spirit holy body. The young man was in complete shock. He peered at his hands. His hands were already leaving god spirit mode. His entire god spirit body started to wilt soon after. His life force and presence were shrinking. He dropped down from true god level to butterfly class. Right now, aren't you just a pig for me to kill? Han's son raised his knife and swung it. Many knife streams were in the sky. They moved with Han's son like a galaxy going into the young man's body. Arg! The young man forced himself to use his holy body's time and space power. But butterfly time and space powers were not enough to block Han's son's stream of knives. Pang! The young man's body was hit by the knife stream. He exploded with a blue light. A trail of blue light quickly went into the darkness. In the darkness, the young man gnashed his teeth and yelled, Han's son, I will kill you. Han's son ran into the darkness, but he could not see that young man's body again. He frowned. Han's son looked back. He saw a pile of blue metal chips on the floor. Han's son used his purple eye butterfly to take a look at the chips. He quickly discovered that those pieces belonged to a metal doll. It had to have been a treasure for copying one's body for survival. What a shame I did not kill him. Han's son looked at the bodies of the demon lady and the others. Chapter 2991, Getting a God Personality. Han's son had 3 God personalities. They were the Destruction class Sky Armor God and Evil Lotus God, as well as the Annihilation class Kill Sky God. Han's son went to Evil Lotus God's God Temple. He wanted to see what type of armament Evil Lotus God's God Personality armament was. Why is Dollar here again? Did he not just kill Moment God? Maybe he is a bloodthirsty mongrel. I don't know what level of God spirit he is challenging. It should be at least a Disaster Class 1. He killed a Disaster Class Moment God. So there is no way he is challenging something of a lower level. While everyone was discussing it, Han's son walked into Evil Lotus God's God Temple. All the audience felt a little weird. What is going on? Why is Dollar challenging a Destruction Class God Spirit? No. That God Temple must be shut down right now. He cannot challenge it. Why is he in there? What is going on? After a while, everyone saw the God flag on the God Temple start to shine. Before long, it went dim. The God Spirit must have been killed. Han's son quickly came out from Evil Lotus God's God Temple and went to Sky Armor God's God Temple. The same thing happened again. Han's son quickly emerged from Sky Armor God's God Temple. Holy shit! What is happening? Dollar can enter a shut-down God Temple and slay the spirits inside? Is he cheating? Ordinary creatures did not know the difference between God Temples and sealed temples. They were all frozen. He is not leaving. Dollar is headed for the God Temple upstairs. He is not going to challenge a Disaster God Spirit again, is he? No. Dollar already challenged a Disaster Class God Temple group. He is still going up. Does he want to challenge an Annihilation Class God Spirit? He went in. He really went in. While everyone was watching, Han's son pushed open the shut-down Kill Sky God Temple. He walked inside. The God Temple's door closed itself. Like the God Spirits that descended died outside the God Temples. Only someone holding the God Spirit's God personality can enter. Normal creatures did not kill descended God Spirits. They did not know this method to enter the God Temple. Before Han's son entered Evil Lotus God and Sky Armor God's God Temples, he killed the defenseless God Spirits inside. They did not have God Spirits, but he had received the God Personality armaments. Evil Lotus God's God Personality armament was a purple crystal lotus flower-shaped ring. Sky Armor God's God Personality armament was a half-body armor. It was different from what Han's son expected. He had been hoping for a weapon. Han's son did not try out what kind of power those 2 God Personality armaments wielded. He went to Kill Sky God Temple and saw Kill Sky God's empty shell God body standing atop the God altar. He looked very powerful but without anger. Han's son already had the experience, so he knew it was just a useless empty shell that could not fight back. Han's son's eyes scanned Kill Sky God. If he wanted to kill a god spirit, he had to destroy his god base. Otherwise, the god spirit's healing power would have been too strong for him to destroy. Evil Lotus God was a low-level god spirit. Han Sen was able to slash open his god body and find the god base with ease. An Annihilation class god spirit like Kill Sky God was different. It wouldn't be as easy for him. Fortunately, Han Sen saw Kill Sky God be killed by Wanner. He saw it clearly. He knew exactly where the god base was, which saved him a lot of trouble. He was not going to use Super Spank this time. He was afraid of destroying everything, and then not being able to claim the god personality armament. In the end, he summoned his Sky Vine Radish God Lance, and pierced toward Kill Sky God's god body. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance was thrust into the empty shell that was Kill Sky God's god body's chest. Sparks erupted everywhere. The strike only damaged his skin a bit. He did not even bleed. Kill Sky God's real god body is stronger than the universe god body he used when he descended. Han Sen knew he would be unable to break a god base like that. He hesitated and summoned the Kirin's Holy Spirit. He made it possess the Sky Vine Radish God Lance. The Sky Vine Radish God Lance suddenly burned with white fire. Han Sen struck again. This time, the tip of the lance managed to perforate it a lot. It also ended up getting stuck within the muscles and bones. Han Sen thrust and thrust. He was busy for quite a while when he finally pierced through the blood and the bones inside. He saw the chest releasing a black and smoky heart. That is it. Han Sen's thrust the heart. He noticed the heart was even harder than the god bones and god flesh that had kept it protected. Han Sen held the Sky Vine Radish God Lance and attacked it for half an hour before finally being able to pierce through the heart. He wiped away the sweat that had accumulated on his forehead and said, "Luckily, that guy possessed someone when he descended to chase me. If he had used this god body to fight me, my fight would have been harder." After completely destroying the heart, Han Sen quickly brought out the Kill Sky God arm bone. The god body turned a light substance and headed toward Han Sen's own arm bone. It all went into his bones. The black light of the bones grew stronger. It was floating inside Han Sen's hand. When all the light substance melted into his bones, the bone light looked dim. After the light was gone, Han Sen saw the arm bone become a black bone hammer. The bone hammer was far too cruel. The hammer was just a bit bigger than a fist. It was like a rubber hammer in a house. Why is this hammer so different when compared to the hammer Kill Sky God wielded? Kill Sky God's hammer was so much more powerful. What is this tiny thing for? Han Sen complained, but then an announcement played. Annihilation class god personality armament received, Kill Sky Hammer. Han Sen looked at the Kill Sky Hammer. The name was very powerful and overbearing, but it looked very small. It looked like a black bone hammer. The head was a cylinder. Both sides of the hammer head had a god symbol. It looked old and mysterious, but Han Sen did not know what the two god symbols meant. When he and Kill Sky God fought, the big hammer had those two god symbols too. They likely represented his power. Just like before, Kill Sky Hammer had a message in Han Sen's head. Kill Sky Hammer Annihilation Class God Personality Armament. Seeing Kill Sky God get resurrected, Han Sen did not dare remain. He put the Kill Sky Hammer into his Sea of Soul, and swiftly departed Kill Sky God Temple. All the races of the universe were looking at the Kill Sky God Temple. They saw him emerge from the God Temple right when the God flag flashed. Then it went dim. Clearly, a god spirit had died inside the god temple. Really? Dollar killed an annihilation class god spirit, and the temple was closed down. This seems fake to me. It was something called Holy Body Geno Fluid. If the Holy Body Geno Fluid was a success, then all the creatures can activate their potential and gene origin power, so that their genes could evolve. Then every creature could get their super holy body. After speaking, Bai King looked at Han Senator. It seemed as if he wanted to ask something, but he did not ask anything. He continued with what he was talking about. Ever since Sacred collapsed, the Holy Body Geno Fluid has not succeeded. Our Alpha used the half-finished Holy Body Geno Fluid and received the special body. He used that special body to survive amidst the chaos, and keep the extreme king alive. Is that special body is a king body? Han Sen asked. Bai King nodded and said, yes, it is a king body. That special body plays a big part in genes, but it is different from normal genes. In the beginning, the extreme king people were able to activate their king bodies. Some geniuses were able to activate their king bodies by the time they were 15 or 16 years old. Everyone activated a different kind of body. As time passed, the bloodline kept becoming lighter and lighter. Now the extreme king people can only activate their king bodies by the time they reach king class. Most of the extreme king cannot activate their king bodies anymore. Han Sen looked at the ring and asked, what does any of that have to do with this ring? Bai King put the ring down and placed it in front of Han Sr. According to what the Alpha told us, that ring is a tool for testing king bodies. It will only work for a successful holy body. Han Sen took the ring and placed it in his hand. That very normal ring suddenly made his soul shake. It seemed as if it was able to make the black gem inside Han Sen moan and groan. Han Sen kept stroking the gem in the ring and thought, it is very amazing, but I feel the black gem in the ring is different from the black crystal. Mr. Alpha believed Sacred Leader had a backup plan, even for a time after this death. We believed someone would take up the mantle to proceed with his research on the holy body geno fluid. We just needed to hold on to that ring and wait until the real holy body geno fluid came out. At that time, our king bodies would be perfected. It would be a perfect holy body. It would not be like a king body that becomes a little harder to reach as time goes by. Bai King looked at Han Sen as if his eyes were on fire. If you want to get the holy body geno fluid from me, you are wrong. I have never used holy body geno fluid, and I don't know to make that stuff. After saying that, Han Sen threw the ring back at Bai King. Bai King picked up the ring, smiled, and said, we can talk about this another time. Today, I looked for you so we can cooperate for the killing of an annihilation class god spirit. Are you interested? Han Sen knew Bai King must have something more to say.